This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Y'all ready up here? Cardi, you good down there? Yeah. All right. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. As always, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. The only addition that Jonathan's given us is he has an updated goals and priorities list from our comments at the last meeting. And I'd like just to put this on the agenda as time presents itself. So if we get a moment, we can go into that. I think we've had one cancellation at 4:35. It's going to be roughly in there, but it's going to be a little bit flexible if y'all don't mind. Does anybody else have anything that we need to add to this agenda? What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented or as amended.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. As always, public comment. Public comment. Zero. Yeah, it happens. All right, we'll do it again later. Let's get right into the budget work session. Patrick, come on up and tell us about Rappahannock Rapidan Regional Commission. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Jackson, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Patrick Monty. I'm the Executive Director of the Rappahannock Rapidan Regional Commission. We work with the county along with the counties of Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, and Rappahannock, and the 8 towns within those 5 counties. Looking forward to welcoming Supervisor Dawson to our board. I'm going to meet with him next Tuesday as he was appointed by you all in January, and Mr. Weekly currently serves, and he also agreed. It's not been approved yet, but he agreed to serve on the executive committee for our board for the next year, which will begin in March, so I appreciate his service, and certainly for Supervisor Jackson for your past service on the commission as well.
Oh, yeah.
From our office, you have 2 requests this year, which are both in keeping with past years. One is our annual per capita dues request. That's a flat 83 cents per capita. There is an adjustment this year based on the Census Bureau population estimates, and so that assessment is a little under 11,500 from the commission. And then the second request is our role as lead agency for the Foothills Housing Network, which is for homeless services and some of the additional housing work that we do. That request has been a flat request since FY 2015, and for the county this year remains at a little bit over $5,500. I'm going to speak to the per capita dues request just because that sort of encompasses all of the work that we do on behalf of the region. Our role is really as a coordinator of regional communication between counties and towns on issues of mutual interest. We also serve as a liaison between the county and other regional entities, as well as state and federal agencies when needed and when necessary and when we can be helpful. And then the last piece, that we provide technical assistance to the county, and that can span from rural transportation to comprehensive plan assistance to data provision to grant writing. Really, I like to think of it as if you or your staff have a question and you don't immediately know the answer, then think of us as a resource to reach out to, because a lot of times we may have the answer, and if not, we can serve in that support role to find the answer for you. 2 of our ongoing initiatives that are currently happening right now are in that role as a liaison between federal and state and then local government. And that's the hazard mitigation plan update. So that's a mandated federal plan from FEMA that must be updated every 5 years. And that's something where they've said, look at it at a regional level because, as we all know, the types of natural hazards that impact Madison are very similar to those that impact Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, and Rappahannock. The main purpose of this is to identify those hazards, but also to identify potential opportunities to mitigate those hazards And having that plan in place opens up some additional funding opportunities through FEMA and other federal agencies as well. The second ongoing plan is a comprehensive economic development strategy that we're currently developing on behalf of the region. It's the first one that we've ever done in this 5-county region, but that's through the U.S. Economic Development Administration. And again, is looking to build on the mutual assets that we all share throughout the 5 counties and to develop, again, strategies for putting the right type of economic development in each of the counties and the towns as well. So I've been at the commission for almost 18 years in April, and one thing I've definitely learned pretty quickly is that what works in Fauquier County is maybe not the same as what's going to work in Madison County or what you might all be looking for. But at the same time, there are things that I think all 5 counties and all the boards of supervisors and town councils will agree on in terms of strategies. So I did note recently in your comprehensive plan work that the idea of a technology corridor along Route 29 through the county, and that's something that we've been talking about at the SEDS meetings as well, along with some other regional meetings as well. So certainly happy to talk more about that or to hear more as well as your comprehensive plan continues to develop. And then the last thing I'll say is just 2 programs that I think potentially over the next year may be beneficial and would like to talk more with you all and certainly with Mr. Weekly and staff are our work with the Regional Transportation Collaborative, and that's coordinating mobility transportation largely targeted towards the aging population and individuals with disabilities. This works with volunteer drivers, but also a number of partner organizations to have resources not only in terms of staff, but to grow that ability to transport people not only for medical or those types of appointments, but also for other transportation needs that they may have. And Madison is an area that we've seen. We know there's a need. We haven't been able to document it as well as we've been able to in other parts of the region, and so that's a definite desire this year is to build the partnerships in Madison so that we can begin to document that or document more so of the need here in the county. And the last one is on environmental planning. We've got a strong environmental planning presence, and that goes from not just Chesapeake Bay watershed assistance, but also things such as solid waste management, which we've assisted the county with in the past, and water supply planning, which is one that is coming back around right now. There's been some changes at the state in terms of regulation, the water supply regulation. So again, providing that interface between the state government and the county is an area where we're well positioned, and I think have done well working with you all in the past, and look forward to continuing to do that. So I'm happy to answer questions on any of that information or anything else that you might have for me.
Any questions back here?
No, sir. I mean, I can just echo the fact that we have relied on their services. As just stated, the comprehensive plan, some of the earlier kickoff, some of Patrick's team, and then we'll definitely be having, we've already engaged, but we'll have further conversations once this new water supply plan regulation is signed by the governor. So a lot of good work, a lot of good region support and cooperation.
Jim, please.
Is there a question, is your organization, how active is your organization in monitoring and, I don't like to use the term lobbying, but with the legislation that is proposed and moves through the General Assembly that relates to counties, and I'm thinking about the bills that are trying to really usurp local control over solar and wind and other renewable siting authority. How active are you folks in that?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the question, and I'll again indicate that Mr. Weekly and his colleagues, we have a monthly and sometimes more often than monthly, just sort of virtual check-in call, and one of the main topics of that call is legislative updates. And so we don't hold a contract. Fauquier County actually holds a contract with a legislative liaison, Mr. Eldon James, for the region. He's in Richmond throughout the session. He's often the one bringing back this information to us and you know, honestly coordinating with VACO and BML as well. So we keep an eye on it. We don't hold the contract, but we coordinate that for the counties, mostly in terms of having that information brought back to them. We're not a lobbyist, and I think Eldon would be pretty clear. I think he registers as a lobbyist, but we rarely ask him to take a stance on anything unless there's unanimity amongst the 5 counties.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Eldon is with the Rappahannock River Basin Commission.
He, Supervisor Jewett, that was the gentleman we ran into when we went to Government Day.
Oh,
there at State Capitol. And the legislative updates, or I should say, the legislative issues you all usually receive, the annual that is planned to go to the General Assembly flows through, as Patrick just mentioned. So whether it's, I think Ted Voorhees with Orange County had some things on with government properties or easements. We took certain stance, broadband, so all that happens, and there'll be a legislative issues that you'll usually get as a board member once a year of issues that they plan to take, well, Eldon plan to take to Richmond on behalf of the PD9.
And if I could follow up on that, we do have a legislative platform that the commission hears back, and again, the county administrators and town managers share. And that's something where if it was a need, or if there was a specific bit of feedback from the Board of Supervisors, that we would certainly take that and, be able to respond to that through those channels as well.
Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say for the board and for the public that Patrick and we call it Triple RC is responsible for Skyline Cap to have been able to put in 6 more housing units in the town of Madison over this past year. So thank you very much.
That is correct. I feel like I've mentioned that the last 2 or 3 years, so I was going to give it.
It took us
Don't
for a
take most of the
while
credit for
to get it going, but they're filled, and we got a waiting list, and it's much needed, and it's one of those things you can really touch and say, this is what an organization, there's the result of it right there.
No, Patrick's group helps on everything, and he's like I always say, he's the most under-assuming person out there. When there's assistance needed at a governmental level, he's a person that should be in everybody's handbag. I mean, he works for us. $133 increase across the two, that seems manageable. We appreciate the starting this process in the right direction. Everybody take note. Anybody else have anything for Patrick? Patrick, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Carew. OAR and Jefferson Area Community Corrections.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ross Carew. I'm the director at OAR. I handed Mr. Weekly a flyer, or my notes essentially, for the meeting, so you can follow along. I won't read them. Wanted to talk a little bit about OAR and our request, and talk about how OAR partners with Madison County around public safety. So OAR is a regional nonprofit community corrections agency that serves the 16th Judicial District. So essentially 8 counties in 1 city. Madison is one of the counties we serve. Our request is for our local probation department. Our request is $9,677. So Madison County, for every probation diversion into our program, saves about $4,100 in avoided jail costs. We had 54 referrals last year, which is a 35% increase from the previous year. That equates to about $220,000 jail cost avoidance for referrals into our program. We are particularly proud of our successful completion rate at 72%. That exceeds the state average at 67%. And our 3-year recidivism rate is 26%. Additionally, outside researchers found that probation completers with us are 2.5 times less likely to reoffend. Our probation staff are considered state and national leaders in best practices. We do risk assessment on all cases. We have specialized caseloads, individualized case plans, cognitive behavioral interventions, and we're constantly evaluating on outcomes to improve. Our second request is for the Criminal Justice Planner. The planner is staff to the Thomas Jefferson Area Community Criminal Justice Board. This is a regional board that is to address criminal justice issues in a regional approach. Mr. Jewett and Steve Hoffman are the Madison representatives. The goal is for the implementation of best practice strategies amongst the 9 jurisdictions, This position is funded solely by local funding, and the request is proportional to the request being made for all of the jurisdictions served. It's based on population. I should have said about the probation request, that is a proportional request that we're making for all of the jurisdictions, and that is based on caseloads from the particular county. You probably remember our criminal justice planner coming before the board and giving PowerPoints on an annual report of Madison County and some of the crime trends. That will continue. Additionally, for the planner, the board is going to be doing a 3-year strategic plan in April to craft what the next 3-year plan will look like. Wanted to introduce, he's not here, but the new planner, it used to be Neil Goodlow, you may remember him. The new planner, Neil retired in the summer, and we've hired a new planner, Matt Vitale, so you'll probably be seeing him as we move forward. Additionally, wanted to talk about some of the additional OAR resources that partner with Madison County. We have a pretrial program. Pretrial provides risk-based bond recommendations and pretrial supervision. We have the Charlottesville Albemarle Drug Court. We have the Charlottesville Albemarle Therapeutic Docket, which is the behavioral health docket for misdemeanors in Albemarle and Charlottesville General District Court. We also provide reentry services to folks in the Central Virginia Regional Jail and the Albemarle Charlottesville Regional Jail, the Fluvanna Drug Court, and we just started the Nelson Drug Court and the Orange Madison Shared Drug Court. And Mr. Jackson, the last time we were here, you asked about participation, and there's currently 14 participants in the drug court right now.
In the Orange Madison one.
In the Orange Madison one.
That's great.
And even better, we had our first graduate in January.
Good.
That graduate was an Orange County, or an Orange Circuit Court case, however, was a Madison resident. Challenges, one of the challenges of being a nonprofit is we're not sort of embedded under a government, right? And so our funding is state and local funding. Some of the challenges relate to cost of living, and I'm sure you're going to hear that probably all afternoon tonight. Our staff, we're staffed at 70% of the recommended rate, and our current salaries are approximately 10% similarly situated positions. And like you, we face the same competition for staff that probably Madison County does, and having to compete for personnel with our folks north of us is a challenge. The additional challenges we have are rural service delivery. Research has shown that proximity to service helps with success, and so we're constantly trying to bring services out into the more rural communities. Wanted to thank you for partnering with OAR over the years. I think we've improved the lives of our clients and the citizens of Madison. Your work has helped support evidence-based interventions, and your investment in local dollars is the most effective solution for community-based public safety. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm open to any questions.
What's the normal, and I just don't know, I mean, what is the drug court, what is the period that it takes to go from enrollment to graduation?
If you have no missteps, it's 12 months. Very few people make it through without, because that's the purpose. We want medium and high-risk people. We want folks that are struggling. They all are clinically addicted, and so most people do not make it in that 12-month period.
Of the 14, how many represent Madison? Is it 2, or is it?
That's a great question, and I want to say it's shaded more towards orange. However, I don't have the exact number, and I can get that to you.
Okay.
I'll get that to you tomorrow.
One of the reasons that I ask these questions, as you know, Madison County, like many localities, receives direct payment settlement funds from the class action lawsuit with opioid settlement. So it was an opportunity last year to put some of those fundings out there for that specific need. So good to have that information to know if that money is beneficial and is your caseloads increasing, so we can kind of keep up with the funding we have and maybe if we need to target more.
Well, I also think that the opiate funding, the jurisdictions get sort of a set amount based on some formula. It's also a big pot for regional, and I know that there's specific, some of the counties that we serve are really interested in ways to partner to draw down some more of that money. So I would absolutely entertain those conversations and how we can partner to improve both Madison and any of the other partner counties.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, aging together, Ms. Phipps.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here today, and thank you for your support in the past of Aging Together. I'm Ellen Phipps. I'm the Executive Director of Aging Together, and we serve the 5 counties in Planning District 9. We are asking to be restored to level funding of $3,000. It was a little bit less this past year, but in fact, this past year, we've increased our presence and our services in Madison County. And just to give you a little bit of background, over 22% of the population in Madison County is over the age of 65. It's about 3,000 people. And by 2050, this number is expected to double. So it's, as everyone knows, that aging population is definitely on the rise. We actually and there are about 900 veterans also living in Madison County. We increased the hours of our community engagement director to better support our 5 counties, and her main focus is coordinating the teams in each of the counties. We did host community conversations this past year, and I think one of the things that people don't realize, because Aging Together, we don't have a lot of direct services, but we are very much behind the scenes, and a lot of the things that you're hearing from other organizations and about transportation or other issues, oftentimes they come up first in either the Aging Together team meetings or in the community conversations. And then we help to sort of brainstorm solutions and connect people to the appropriate resources. So this year, what we heard in the community conversations, transportation being a great need. A lot of people, older adults, are driving, but they wish that they didn't have to because maybe they're noticing that maybe they shouldn't be. And then a lot of people depend on family members or others to go shopping or for food or pick up medications and that kind of thing. Another need that was identified had to do with home repairs. A lot of people didn't know, for example, about Madison Day. So again, that's a really good example of Aging Together. Here's something, and then we connect people to the appropriate resource. There was discussion about affordable housing that came up. And also people just wanted a place where older adults could just meet, come together and socialize. Just, for coffee or whatever. Of course, we know about the senior center, and we do direct people there, of course. But also with me today is a familiar face to you all, is Valerie Ward, and she's on our board of directors, as is Patrick Money, who's here today too. I thought she might sort of jump in and share a little bit too about the role of Aging Together.
I just wanted to add that Aging Together serves a really unique role in coordinating kind of local initiatives to become regional initiatives. I think of some successful programs that have been started in other counties, like dementia-friendly businesses, for example. Through my involvement on the Aging Together board, I was able to hear what was happening in both Culpeper and Fauquier County, and contacted Ellen and the staff, and we were able to quickly bring our chamber person to the table and have a discussion about how we can bring initiatives that really make a difference in our community of senior citizens. So I think just the role they play is really unique in ensuring that Madison is staying kind of on the cutting edge of initiatives that serve all the aging folks in our community, which frankly is all of us. I think the Department of Social Services is really concerned at looking at the potential percentage of our population in the next few years that will be needing more and more services. And we're trying to stay on the front edge of trying to have a response for that need that is only getting larger. So again, I won't say more, I could, but just wanted to express the Department of Social Services support for the work Aging Together does, and we will continue to be involved.
Thank you, Valerie. Most people know about Aging Together because of the Regional Resource Guide for Older Adults, which is the only one of its kind in the region. I have some extra copies if anyone's interested. But in addition to that, we do have a few initiatives that are coming up this year that I wanted to share with you too. The initiative that Valerie spoke about, the dementia-friendly business, we are launching that in March here in Madison County, so that's very exciting. And what that is, dementia-friendly, it's basically raising awareness to restaurants and business owners to how to be welcoming for people who might be living with dementia or some kind of cognitive impairment. So a lot of times, I usually use my own father as an example. When he had dementia, and I would take him out to a restaurant, and he would sometimes take his teeth out, for example, and just put them on the table. And, you know, if somebody doesn't understand why a person's doing that, they might just ask you to leave because it's not very nice. But if you have an understanding that the person, you know, can't really help it, it's the disease, then you know how to interact with them and make them feel welcome, and everybody can enjoy the outing. We're also exploring a friendly visitor program to address social isolation with older adults. We're looking at this pilot in Culpeper, and then, as Valerie said, it's sort of rolling something out in one county and then trying to replicate it in the others. And I've already had some interest, some folks here in Madison that they would be very interested. It would be volunteers that would be able to visit with older adults in their homes. Aging Together participated in the January 8th stakeholder meeting along with many other community leaders in support of the EMS para-medicine program that's scheduled to start. So we're very involved with working with those kinds of initiatives in Madison County as well. And we are also convening a one-day mini conference to address social isolation. That's going to be located in Culpeper at Pepper's Grill, but everyone is going to be invited, and we are going to be able to come up with an action plan for our region. And we've got the folks from the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services at the state involved with that initiative. So I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I got one, Mr. Chairman. So, tell me a little more about the paramedical program. What's your, did I say that right? What's Aging Together's?
We are simply a partner in that. So with the EMS here in Madison, Tiffany, I think I can't never pronounce it. I never say her name right. And initially, when she first had this idea of an expanded paramedicine sort of program for the county, she reached out to Aging Together, and we definitely were interested in supporting it, and we have attended all the meetings and helped to brainstorm and support the initiative.
I have a quick question. Meals on Wheels, do other counties use that? Are you involved with those?
So that's
services?
usually through Encompass that handles that. So, and we work very closely with Encompass. Ray Parks from Encompass is on our board of directors as well. But again, where we fit in with programs like that is providing resource guides to be delivered. You know, if someone's going out and delivering food or visits to older adults, we would provide the resource guides to, especially for people who are not online and they need the hard copy. So that, yeah.
I was just going to say, I'd add to that, I think Aging Together's role in that particular area is to really have their finger on the pulse on food insecurity in all 5 counties in the region and help kind of relay resources and information. I know Aging Together was very involved in my discussions with the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank to look at mobile food pantry development in our region, as well as the reach delivery, home delivered commodities from the food bank to go to homebound and seniors. So again, they kind of help bring together and centralize discussions and resources from all 5 counties to then be a part of the action plan.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, would you like to give a plug? I think we've got a couple 5 over 50 recipients I just recently saw. Would you like to share that? Was that your?
Yes, yes, absolutely. We are involved in doing that every year and hosting the 5 over 50 and the watch party. And the announcement has been made, and it's Karen and Troy Cuppage that have been selected for this year's recipients in Madison County.
You mentioned Madison Day earlier, and that's kind of how that got started. So good to hear about community members.
All right, I'm gonna ask you the same thing I ask every year. When are we gonna move the 50-year mark to like 60 or 65? Like as I plan on telling Troy from the rest of his life that he's elderly. I mean, we gotta move this thing up. I mean, good Lord, we're on the downward spiral at this point.
It's funny you should say that, and I know you ask every year. It's
We're
funny.
doing 6 over 60 next year. Is
yeah.
that a better plan?
Exactly, yeah. We just had that discussion at our board meeting, and we actually have a committee that's looking at it.
Excellent.
Finally, we're
Excellent.
finally listening to
Yeah,
you.
that- finally.
So see, you can restore us
you're
to
one of
level
few.
funding now.
Good. Excellent. Anybody else have questions, Ms. Phipps?
Well, other than, where's that guide available that you're holding in your hand?
It's
Where can people get that?
usually it's at the library. It's at social services. It's at the at the pharmacy. We've got some extra guides here today. If you'd like a copy, be happy to can have it.
Sure.
My staff calls that the
It's-
Bible of resources.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this from before. It's very comprehensive.
Yes, and I think what
People can get it.
one of the great things that happened, as Valerie said, her staff calls it the Bible. I mean, initially it was developed for, older adults out in the community or caregivers to be able to connect to resources. And I don't think we ever anticipated how helpful it would be to health professionals, people that are, seeing clients every day. And it's, they get calls and they can just pick that up and flip through it and direct people to the appropriate service.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mrs. Phelps.
Thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am. Valerie. Culver Soil and Water, Mr. Witchelm, come on and talk to us.
Good afternoon. We've got 1 over 60 at the district, and you're looking at him.
There you go.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. I appreciate the opportunity to come for you today. Greg Witchelm's here, district manager. Our funding request, I presume, is in front of you there. For 2025, it's a very slight increase over the current year. The current year being a slight decrease over previous to that. And you will recall, or if you don't, we have a funding formula with our 5-member counties. It's been in place for, about since 1999. It's a rata share formula based half on population and half on workload the previous 12 calendar months to submission. So what's going on in Madison County from the district? Excuse me. We've allocated $6.1 million in ag cost share funds over the most recent 5 years. That's projects completed and paid. 1.8 million of that this last year it was in 2023, and so far in 2024, we've either completed or are working on 1.3 million in projects. And the year is still young right now. We've got till June 30th. We've also either completed or are working on $61,000 of septic cost share projects. Just as an aside, Madison County is the only county in our 5-county district that all of the county geography is eligible for septic cost share. That's all based on how the watershed grants are administered at the state level, but you fall right in the middle of it all, so that works quite well. Over the 9 years, we've had active septic grants in Madison, we've spent $250,000 and funded 42 repairs, 30 new systems, and hundreds of pump outs and inspections. We've impacted that many systems. Beyond that, we're a little active with site plan reviews and have been helping your new man, he's been here about a year, I think now, get on his feet. That's Richard kind of helping out a little bit. School programs and professional support for teachers continues to be very high. We also respond to a variety of technical and educational assistance requests outside of the cost share programs. Otherwise, we're here, we're busy, and we like to think we rise to most any occasion. We thank you for your past support, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
All right, who has questions for Mr. Witchelm? You're very efficient, Mr. Witchelm.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, please, go.
Mr. Winchon, the qualifiers, just for those of us who may not remember and also the general public, what are the qualifiers? Obviously, a failing septic is a qualifier, but is it income, a poverty level? Like, how does one know what the qualifiers are?
It's residential only, okay? Businesses are not eligible. However, if you happen to be an engineer or an architect and have a small business out of your garage or side apartment or whatever, if you're on the same system as your house, that's all eligible, but a business uptown or whatever is not eligible. You can be in town and be eligible for a hookup, or if you have a septic system, if that's going to continue to fly. It's baseline 50% reimbursement rate up to cap amounts per practice for anybody who's eligible, and then it goes up to 80% depending on income, and it's ratcheted up based on percent of household income per your most recent tax return.
And that other percent, is that paired up like the individual that's in need, they pair that up with a personal loan, or how does one generally fund that?
Checkbook, I guess.
Okay.
It's probably pretty variable. I think probably it's rare, but sometimes there are social organizations that can step up and help out if a person is really seriously low income.
Okay.
We are working with the state agency, we being not just Culpeper, but numerous grantees across the state. Those prices come July 1, the reimbursement cap rates are going up. Ever since 2020, rates have, it's costs with everything have really gone up quite a lot. They've kind of been dragging their heels on changing those numbers, but I believe come July, they're going up about 25%.
You all good? Please.
I've been dealing with these programs for probably close to 40 years, and in the ag sector. And I don't think people realize how impactful these programs have been on the environment and protecting the Chesapeake Bay in particular.
Right.
And they're efficiently administered, and it's an effective spending of federal and state money. You don't see that often in government programs, unfortunately. But the district really does a good job for everybody, even if it's indirect.
Appreciate that. We've got strong partners as well with USDA and Department of Forestry, et cetera, et cetera. It's across the board, pretty good team effort. Has been for a very long time. I consider myself just kind of a steward of the whole thing while I'm here.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Witchelm.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's do safe. How do you pronounce Angie? Yes. How do you pronounce your last name? I apologize. All right, Abidjan. Miss Abidjan, please come and tell us things. All right, done. Well, welcome. Tell us about SAFE.
So SAFE is our local nonprofit. We're a domestic violence and sexual assault agency. Our main office is located in Culpeper, although we do service Madison County. And I think last year We service, I think, 21 adults, 22 kids, and had 55 hotline calls from Madison County last year. And we offer shelter, so we have two shelters. Both are located in Culpeper County. We recently got a house donated to us right before COVID, so we are actually able now to take pets as well. We have a kennel, so anybody who has a pet that didn't want to leave them behind, we do take pets now as well. Let's see, what else? We do so much. So we're in the schools. We're trying to maybe get to Madison County. So we are in Culpeper County schools right now teaching kids about healthy relationships in the 6th and 9th grade health and PE classes. So we have a contract with Culpeper County Public Schools for that. So we offer supportive counseling, support groups, court accompaniment to help with protective order, child in custody, visitation, things like that. So yeah, we have a host of services that we can provide.
All right.
Who's your current director in Culpeper?
That would be me. So it was Cindy Hedges for the past 4 years. So she actually resigned. It's been a crazy 6 months. So she resigned in August, and so I took over in October. So I was actually her assistant the whole 4 years that she was there. And I've been with SAFE personally. This will be my 13th year. So I started working in the shelter as a shelter aide, and kind of just worked my way up.
I recall the lady's name was Ms. Brown, I believe was her last name. Was she a director there?
So she was briefly, yes. So
Okay.
she left right before Cindy Hedges came on board, yes.
I got to meet Mrs. Brown back in, I think it was 2016, when I was part of a community project that we went and did work on the
Okay.
facilities.
Okay.
And I also got to took a look at their IT security and their physical security at that time and worked with her a little bit. But you really don't appreciate what that place does until you get an inside look. And the challenges that go along with trying to support people who are in a domestic abuse situation, because it's not as clear cut from the outside
Correct.
as what's actually happening in there. But anyway, it's really, you do great work.
Thank you. And I feel like too, it's not just that one issue that many are battling. It's also, we do get a lot who are battling drug addiction as well. So just to encompass that extra support and make sure they get those supports as well that's needed for that. It can be a very tiresome job, but very worth it and rewarding in the end to see people go on and kind of restart and rebuild their lives over.
Have the numbers gone up year after year, or are we stabilized or down?
So COVID kind of threw a little wrench into everything. So we did see numbers decline during COVID. And it was just simply because everybody was home. They couldn't call us, they couldn't get to us, even though we never stopped working. We were still on call 24/7. But now that the pandemic, is over, numbers are unfortunately increasing, and the need for shelter, like I said, we had that little low, but now it's going back up to where we're typically at 80% occupancy at all times, probably for the past year and a half. And like I said, with ladies coming in also battling drug addiction, it's been very difficult. But we do what we do. We're here to support. We're here to offer whatever services we can and make sure that they get what they need while they're with us.
How large is your staff? How large is your staff?
So we have 13 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff. We are currently working with our local COC, Foothills Housing, to potentially get funding for rapid rehousing for our program, to where if someone comes into our program, we can offer that rapid rehousing assistance. So with that money, we would also be hiring a full-time case manager to assist with that process of them finding housing when they come in.
All right, who else has questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Piedmont Regional Dental, Ms. Landry, please. Welcome.
Hey, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Oops, sorry. So yes, my name's Sherry Landry. I'm here representing Piedmont Regional Dental Clinic, which is located in Orange, but serves many Madison children and adults. Last year, we served 467 patients from Madison County. That represents over 10% of the total patients served. Some of those were covered by Medicaid, but as you may know, Medicaid pays very low for dental care, so most dentists don't accept it. So people need to really look around to find a dentist that will take that insurance, and that is the primary insurance that Piedmont Regional Dental Clinic accepts. The other patients are either covered by Madison Free Clinic. Madison Free Clinic provides a dental benefit to the patients that they see, which is a wonderful thing, and they're the envy of other free clinics across the Commonwealth. And then we saw 45 patients that were qualified for our affordable care program, meaning they were uninsured, low income, and they were only charged 50% of our standard rates for that care. That's only available because of charitable support. Last year, you did not fund Piedmont Regional Dental Clinic, and so we were going to stop providing affordable care for Madison residents, but Northern Piedmont Community Foundation stepped up for the year and provided some funding so we could do that. But that is only available if we have support. We also went to the primary, elementary, middle, and high schools last year in Madison and provided on-site screenings, cleanings, and x-rays, and developed treatment plans for the students, which is a wonderful thing for those kids and their parents in order to get them some oral health care. So I think that's really most of the high points. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So is that's, the state used to do that, right? You know Tom Johnson, don't you?
Yep. Mhm.
So didn't Tom, he's a dentist, didn't, he had a state-funded job that would go to the schools and the counties and do the screening?
I honestly don't know. There
I
are,
think the state cut that program out, so.
yeah, that,
It's not
we
being
have
done.
other towns calling us to, and counties to get us to go into the schools, but we only have so much, staff that we can do that with.
So does the Madison Free Clinic send patients to Piedmont Regional?
Yes,
And
regularly.
And does the Madison Free Clinic pay what's needed to be paid?
They have a cap for each patient for
Yeah.
the year. So for dental care, and we charge them reduced rates. But there's other people in the county who aren't Madison Free Clinic patients, who are low income and don't have any dental insurance and would not get that care otherwise. And what we see with people who are low income and don't have insurance is typically they don't, unfortunately, they don't come in for cleanings and regular care because they can't afford it. It's expensive even at half rates. But when they come in when they have an urgent issue, like abscess or need a tooth extracted or something.
All right, I gotta ask, when did we fund you all last?
I think, I'm sorry, but I don't
No,
know
no,
exactly.
that's fine.
Wasn't last year, I don't think it was the year before, but prior to
2020.
that, I believe you did.
All right.
We had a director transition the first year that we didn't get funded. We missed the whole thing.
All right. Ms. Warren says it was 2021, so.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, other questions for Ms. Landry?
Well, I guess it's likely, you said it's 467 patients from Madison last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably likely to stay about the same, right?
Well, our numbers are increasing all the time,
Yeah.
and the more we are able to add
Or not go
dentists, the
down
more
anyway.
patients we get. The phone rings all the time with people looking for dental care.
Well, I guess at $3,000, $6 per patient, not a bad deal.
Ms. Landry, just a not quite off-topic question, but from a professional standpoint, a dental standpoint, what percentage of these folks that come through your services their lack of dental care has progressed into a more serious health issue.
So I can't give you an exact percentage, but we are serving people typically who have not had a routine of regular dental care, and they have multiple cavities or need multiple extractions. And you know, infections in your mouth can lead to infections throughout your body and can cause cardiac problems, which can ultimately result in death. So it's very important. You know, and we try to get them on a routine of coming back for cleanings and doing the rest of the work, but it is expensive. And so it's just unfortunate. We are looking to develop more of a volunteer dentist space, which will allow us to do some extra things for people over time, but it's very hard to find people who want to volunteer at this time.
How many dentists do you work with?
Today,
Okay.
today, we have one full-time dentist, a dentist that works 3 days a week, two dentists that work 3 days a week, and two that work 1 day a week. And we're entering into contract with 2 additional dentists that will work a day a week. So,
Thank you. All right, who else has questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Lambert.
all right, thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much.
All right. Bonnie, come up and tell us about the library. Yes, ma'am. Heck, we're on time. Yeah, normally it doesn't work like that.
Hi,
Welcome.
everybody. My name is Bonnie Hoots. I'm the director at the Madison Library. And Jim, you asked me a question twice. And you asked this once back in, midsummer, and you asked me again this last board meeting. Mr. Druitt asked me, where did I see libraries going in the future? And I really honestly, I think I blew you off a couple times. Because, as everything, it always changes. The answer to that always changes. And I thought, and I thought, and I thought, and I thought. And my answer now is here, in this place, always. The reasons for that are, the libraries have been of use to mankind for thousands of years. We are the repositories of our history and our knowledge. We are the first line of education for our children. We hold the art of the spoken word that feeds their souls, no matter what the age of the person. I was asked 15 years ago if we would still need bookshelves in the future. And that's 15 years ago. And yes, we will, because there's no backup for a book. Is anybody still using a floppy? Or is anybody still even burning a CD? Memory sticks are going to go by the wayside. Technology changes. The library has to be a place where the first original stays. We have the other. We are growing and growing our digital patron. That's now becoming a larger part of, it's still not beating books, hard-covered books, but digital copies are still going out of the door in greater and greater numbers. We still have to buy those digital copies, no matter what we do. So no matter the advances in technology, mankind's needs don't change. We need free books, free technology, free education, and all of that you get at your library. Cheaply. That sounds crazy, but it's true. I have homeschoolers coming in the door, they're checking out 30 and 40 books at a time. I have regular class kids coming in, checking out books. It is not the instant and immediate gratification that a high school teacher has, even though they're using our databases, because we have to buy the data that those kids are accessing. Okay, they're still going on our website to look at them. So, as far as this year, currently we had 54,544 items checked out. That is 4.1 items for every man, woman, and child in this county. So we're being used. Is it the flood I want? No. But it is much better than COVID. We have really improved since that time. So what can I do for you now that I've made my speech?
All right, who has questions for Bonnie?
I have a comment after the question.
All right. All right, is 13,800 the number that we're supposed to be hitting this year, Bonnie?
Yes,
I mean, we've always, and last year it was basically 10,000, it was $10,000, and the year before that it was, what?
And all of that was playing catch-up.
All right.
Okay.
How are we doing now?
We're okay.
Okay.
As long as they see a growth,
All right.
okay?
Who's they?
We are talking about the Library of Virginia. It is written in the Virginia State Code that you cannot give less than you gave the year before. You can flatline us, but then we get into trouble at the state level.
Okay. What are the additional funds this upcoming year going to be used for?
Page performing. Calls of everything is steadily going up.
Okay. All right.
Books no longer are $14.99.
All right.
They're $30.
Okay.
It's simple.
How is just since we got you here, how's fundraising going? Because I mean, we've been talking about building out the basement for.
Oh, no. We're working on it.
Are you good? Okay, tell us about it.
We are working on it. The fundraising itself is we're going to have to do some considerable. If we're talking about the building the basement, and we've already involved an architect, we're already talking about getting things going. We can talking to other outside agencies to see what they want, what they're interested in having downstairs. On the other hand, I will tell you flat out, the rates right now are $275 per square foot for new.
Okay.
Okay, that's $275 per square foot.
Yeah.
We have 3,000 square feet down there. That is 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And that we are working on.
Okay.
We have a building fund that we have been steadily adding into.
Sure.
We have a percentage of what we do with the money at the end of the year.
All right.
If we have anything left over, we put some into everything's gone to heck reserve. Okay?
Okay.
Then we have some that goes into the building fund.
All right.
And there is another that goes into the endowment. So,
Okay.
yes,
Yep.
sir.
Judd?
Real quick, what are some of your ideas for that basement?
Okay. I know what I want. And what I want is maybe very different from what ends up being down there. We're talking about a meeting room, we're talking about, I would really like at least 2 enclosed, either telehealth, for telehealth, or for tutoring, smaller rooms built out down there. I would love to see my children's area downstairs, but that's my wishes. We're getting everybody's ideas at this point in time. There's nothing in concrete yet. We are literally looking for what to do with the downstairs. We're going to have some storage, it's as simple as that. So I'm assuming the back part of the building is going to be a little bit for storage. But that front part, I do need at least 2 tutoring rooms. And I would love to have, it'd be nice to have something like this down there. But,
So how do we get more people in?
I'm sorry?
I've been to the Helsinki library, and in their basement, they have 3D printers, which, to get kids to come into that
You know how
space.
much they cost?
I know.
A 3D printer. I would love to have a 3D printer. Just to get the supplies for that is probably more than we could handle. It is a lovely thing. I will send you up to Charlottesville. They have the money for it. They're the only ones around here that actually do outside of Richmond. And the colleges may have some. But it's a lovely dream.
Gotta have a dream.
You do.
All right.
Let me ask you, Bonnie.
Yes, sir.
We got, so it looks like, according to the audited financial statements, FY '22, the county supplied about 73% of the state and local funding, and then your request now, according to the budget, is the county would be providing 72% of the money, of state and local money. That is what the state library, or what would you call it, the State Library Association expects from counties, that the counties pick up 3/4 of everything? They only contribute
Pretty much.
that,
Pretty much, and that
that's their
goes-
formula?
That's pretty much the state aid formula. If you'll go, I will send you the email for the link so that you can have the state aid formula. There is a certain percentage of size of the county, population of the county versus a few other things.
Mhm.
It's math. I don't do math, but I will send it to you.
All right,
So
yeah.
that you can. And it is set for each and every one of us. I will tell you that where we are on that list, we have a list statewide of all the counties and where everybody is placed according to what their counties supply. We are 94. We're up. We were 93.
Yep. All right, huh?
So actually, that's not true. That's not true the other way. We're 92.
Oh, good. We're really rolling right up that list. Oh, good.
From where we were before. Sorry.
We've been down this path before, and the math from the state library doesn't seem to add up a whole lot in any way. Yeah,
All I
we've
know
been
is
through
what
it.
I get told, and that's whether or not we're meeting the contingencies.
Are we still on probation? We were on probation
we
for,
are off.
good, that's
We are
positive.
off
Oh,
probation. And like I said, this part of this is keeping us on that.
trajectory towards
Yes.
positive, maybe we're 91 next year. All right. Other questions, comments? Jim, you still have a statement?
No, I just have a question for Bonnie. Bonnie, I know there's an upcoming quote-unquote summit meeting of local stakeholders just
Yeah.
to discuss that, future of the renovations. How how closely are you in contact with the Boys and Girls Club?
Oh, they're coming.
Okay, because,
They are coming. It was supposed to be this Saturday,
right,
and nobody answered. So we sent out another invitation for March something.
Yes.
I'll let you know. And so we're gonna do it again. And we've got the Boys and Girls Club, we've got the representatives from homeschoolers, we've got representatives from, almost every place we could think of to actually get people's opinion about what they actually want down there. So, and the Boys and Girls are part of it. I do know I don't know if there can be a permanent kind of housing there, if that's what you were thinking about. Because that turns it not into a library, it turns it into something else. So, we have to think about it.
right, thanks.
But it certainly could be a daytime trip at any time. Okay.
All right, other questions, comments, thoughts? Thank you, Bonnie.
My question?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have a shot?
A shot at what? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. LaGraff, come up and talk to us. Encompass. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Just a second, Jim.
No problem.
All right. Yes, sir. Tell us where you're at.
All right. Well, you see, our request is, I would put it not as significant, but I'm sure it's going to be considered a significant increase this year. And to try to help explain the increase, our ask of the counties is formula-driven, and we established that formula about 4 years ago. Because of COVID, it wasn't appropriate to redo the formulas for a variety of reasons. People were staying home, there was huge costs, and so it didn't make any sense. Over the last 4 years, state spending on behavioral health predominantly has increased dramatically. And what you see in our request this year is reflective of the increases in state revenues that require local matching. It's gone up about $5 million for us as an organization. Most of our services of that money require a 90-10 local match. And so 10% of $5 million is $500,000 split between the 5 counties proportional to your population is kind of what you're seeing this year.
All right. All right. What else are y'all doing up at Encompass now?
So if you haven't been by Thrift Road, the outbuildings are gone. The interior demolition is pretty much completed. All the asbestos has been removed. The building, you left the building for a reason. We know the reasons why.
Good.
So it is anticipated, we're on schedule though for a July 1st. That building we open, operational. The individuals we support with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are served by Madison County will finally come home to that location. We will have case management available. We will have some telehealth ability out of that location. We will also be able to do some of the groups like we see at the Sea Recovery Center, which has been, I would say, incredibly successful locally. Since we opened the Sea Recovery Center and some of the programs and services, we used to be about a 20-25% higher rate than the state average on emergency department visits for overdoses. We are one of the few regions in the state. Our rate is now down about 40%, and it's continuing to trend down after the programs in the program, the harm reduction kits and all the stuff that goes along with it while the rest of the state continues. We used to be 20% higher than the state average. We're now about 30% below the state average in emergency department room visits. So we're seeing really positive results of some of those programs. Mobile crisis programs, co-response are now starting to hit Madison County. I know we have a co-response team that meets with your team and works out of here occasionally, mobile crisis. We just got approved to fund, so that again will take some of the burden off of law enforcement. I also think a very important thing, March 3rd, I think that's the Monday, it's March 2nd or March 3rd. A new behavioral health clinic will open in Culpeper. So we are moving off of the grounds of Culpeper Hospital for our outpatient clinic. That building, we have now received a $1 million federal congressional grant for renovations and a little over $1 million grant through the Department of Behavioral Health through discharge assistance plan money. That building, plans are being worked on, will be renovated into a crisis recovery center. What that will give us locally, one of the things we always hear is law enforcement, people who might not be able to get into the state hospital, need some place to go. It will give us that local option for people who are clinically appropriate, who can't go home, can't get into a state hospital, to have a place in our community, that they will come. So,
How many patients will you be able to house there?
it's
Service, or I don't know.
Yeah, the
I'm
capacity
sorry.
would be about 8, which is
All right.
more than 6 to 8, which is more than sufficient for our region.
right.
It's one of the reasons we are not deemed to have enough of a capacity for a crisis receiving center. So to be honest with you, we're just kind of doing what needs to be done to get the local need met.
That was gonna be my question, is what are we doing with ECOs and TDOs at this
So,
point?
so ECOs and TDOs will still be handled. That's a legal process.
Yep.
The small office we have in the grounds of the hospital will move over. So they'll have a new location across the parking lot. When that occurs, a large number of the people that get assessed don't meet the criteria for hospitalization. But what we've never had locally is anywhere for them to go, right? So they're either being returned just to the community, and that's not good, or they're going right back to the environment that they left. So this will give kind of that place, people can go, we will have clinical supports on that location, some other wraparound supports, so that people can, whether maybe they're on some, drugs or something like that, they'll be able to come off the drugs and be monitored, whether they just need a change of pace, a place to relax and all that. So it's those types of services.
But as a voluntary type of facility?
It is a voluntary,
All right, there you
right.
go. That's what
Yeah,
I'm looking.
I can't.
All right. No, understood. All right. All right. Who else has questions, Mr. McGrath?
I got one. So, Mr. Graff, for the Thrift Road building up there, what's the staffing gonna look like up there? It'll be 5 days a week, maybe not services, but at least a warm body there, so somebody could go and say,
So
make an
depending on the
appointment.
program, so it's a multi-use location.
Yeah.
So it'll be used 5 days a week for our adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So they will be there 5 days a week. The other types of services, things like, we have what's called a PCIT, or Parent-Child Interactive Therapy Room. It's an evidence-based practice, it's kind of a really cool program, and I'd love to bring you guys down, we'll have an open house, but it's a room where parents who have children with very significant behavioral challenges, a therapist will sit on another room, and through video and audio will talk to a parent's ear and strategies to work with their child. So there's a room like that. So that might get used 4 or 5 times a week, depending on the number of referrals. Case managers will be meeting, case management team meetings will happen intermittently throughout the course of the day. So the other services will be sporadic, but I would suspect every day there will be something besides just the intellectual and developmental disabilities will be going on at that site during the day.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I could tell somebody, there'll be somebody on site down there from, 8 to 4:30, and you can go inquire about their services and make an appointment or
There'll be someone there who
whatever.
can lead you to who you need to get to.
Right.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
every 5 days a week.
We're not gonna have a receptionist,
No.
so to speak, but there will be people in the building, so if someone were to come by, there's someone who works for us
Yeah,
who
can
can help them.
direct you.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, one of the positions too that we're working on, and we're just finishing some technology stuff, is, you know, we hear over and over, it's too hard to get into programs and services. I'm not sure if this board is aware, we just completed a brand-new 3-year strategic plan. We have 7 goals. Goal number 1 is access. And under goal 1, first objective is services and supports in every one of our 5 counties. So we look at access from location. We have to have stuff in each of our counties. Drift Road, Rappahannock, I'll be honest, is a tough county. It's so much smaller than you to make that happen, but we're working on it. But that'll give us 4 of our counties will have live kind of access back in all of our counties. But we're also looking at access from a technology perspective, which is really a big challenge in this area, right? So, you know, having telehealth capacity, so you might not have it in your home, you can come to our site, use a telehealth, and meet with our clinician who is elsewhere. So all those types of things, as well as ease of access, just from we're Medicaid-funded programs in a lot of areas. You take Medicaid money, you take Medicaid rules, right? And so we're creating a position that'll be, for lack of a better term, a navigator. That any community member, we have 84 or 85 separate distinct programs. I'll be honest, on a good day, I can remember 70 of them, right? So having that person, if you call, who can hold your hand through all of our different programs and services, because you call thinking you want one thing, not realizing there's another part of the organization that can help you. You know, you're looking for services for an older adult, not realizing we have a housing department that might be able to help that older adult. So making sure that those types of connections and arrangements are done and taken care of.
All right, other questions and comments?
Jim, are you planning on having any peer services here?
We do already have peer services here.
But I mean, like in the facility, once you open up?
So when it's open, sure. And
Okay.
again, what it'll give is the peers who are working with peers in Madison County, a local place to go,
Yeah,
which will be much more
Okay.
helpful. Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
thank you.
Other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Nice seeing
Good
everybody.
service to the Graphic.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right, 16th District Court Services. That's Mrs. Hood. Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Let's go. Goals and priorities. Jonathan, it's all you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So basically, I went and I made the revisions that the board had stated at the last meeting. Really, all those changes or updates are seen under priority goal number 3. And that was add an A, strategic planning, B, economic development, C, technology corridor, and D, identify Madison's resources. I need to make that in a possession there. But those were the revisions that you all asked for at the last meeting. So if there are additional revisions or items you'd like to add or remove, please let me know. I think last year you all moved to approve as a single item. You certainly can do that again if you like, or this will be overall part of your budget book. So you can do it as part of your overall budget approval as well. So your choice. But I wanted to bring this back with the updates that the board had stated.
It would appear we are leaving them very, very broad. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite. I mean, good Lord, I mean, we could go a lot of directions from where we're starting here.
over the next several months so we can get to some specific.
I agree.
I mean, they're all great, but we just don't know enough about where we want to be specific, prioritize.
But, what if we, I mean, the top, one and two, I think are pretty good. Three, and then the A to D, I think needs a little more direction. Don't want to do this now? Do you want to think about this and come back with some type of chart or list potentially that could work off of each of those items so we could add some, I don't know, some bullets underneath of them with some direction? I would think that would be
So is the
potentially helpful.
JMU study gonna help with this, you think? I would,
And those, all those things under three, and to
Yeah.
a large degree, they all are part of the same thing.
yeah.
Well, you don't think that the strategic plan component we're waiting for, is it April, Jim? To get to,
by April.
so I would think that on the strategic planning, that we could put as in parentheses or something, is the JMU plan with deliverables in April. Some of the economic development, I think it's kind of tasked to us and our network of people that we know to kind of flush some of that out and try to figure out which areas of economic development or incentives that we, not monetary incentives, but incentives that we can put out there trying to get people to do more business in Madison County, or how we can facilitate, or how we can hopefully help in facilitating some type of business that they're already doing. And I think Tracy Gardner certainly would have ideas on this. We should float those in front, not just meetings that we go to, but kind of more material items that we should be shooting towards. The technology corridor, how would you like to proceed with technology corridor, Jim? I mean, is that one that you'd like us to discuss? Would you want our staff to kind of start gathering some information on how to move through? Do you want us to reach out to Patrick, since he has knowledge already at that, and maybe work off of what he has and put together? I mean, what are you thinking on this?
Well, we're somewhat underway with that now. I know
Okay.
that Jonathan has talked about starting to gather some information, talk to some folks. Dustin and I are actually gonna meet with the planner of Culpeper County next week.
Good, good.
To look at technology, so we're trying to do some initial research.
Absolutely. The technology corridor with Jonathan gathering stuff and y'all's meeting, would it be realistic to think that we could talk about this at one of, I don't know, I would think we could do it at a budget meeting, first couple meetings in March, maybe?
I would think so.
And I know you have a calendar back here that's excellent.
Calendar's fluid based on direction from the board, so.
Excellent. What do we have on the second week? Go to the calendar.
Give me 1 second.
I don't know, if we spent,
That would be a month, that'd be reasonable.
if we spent 15 minutes talking about it, I think that would be ever so helpful, and maybe kind of start pushing us in a direction. I mean, I'm not trying to sell y'all short with 15 minutes, but we can go as long as y'all want. I mean, by all means, I mean, any kind of information you got.
Hold on, it's loading.
Thank you.
All right, so you want to know March?
Yeah, tell us what we're doing in March.
March, you have any department outside agency presentations as well as revenue estimates. Then you
that's
have
real
March
good.
14th is review of
Looks
CIP projects.
That looks like the date, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it on the 14th. Add technology corridor. And then, all right, what was on the 26th?
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, sorry. I'm trying to figure out the Madison resources component next.
That's the public hearing
Oh, yeah,
scheduled
can't
date.
do it that night. Let's see if we can get a list of stuff for resources on the same night, on the 14th. I think that's realistic. What do you think down there?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, that one was okay, because my vision of that we're gonna task somebody to gather those resources and just to see what we had to deal with.
May I
Yeah.
speak to?
Sure.
So,
Sure.
initially, we were just at number 3, when this was presented last week.
Yeah.
And the thought process behind these two can be all-encompassing, as Supervisor Jewett just stated. The economic development resource, it's not just going out there and seeing, we're gonna get this business, that business. It's about knowing what you have, so it kind of plays off D. But all this feeds together. The strategic plan, because there will be an economic development portion of that. We're going to look at revenues, past and present projections. But really, you could say it's broad brush, this statement here, but it was allow staff to go out and identify those resources. It would also allow us, and you've all done great. You've given us one area, a technology corridor. I think many of you or some of you have talked about data centers. So it allows us to know what industry you're trying to target, and then we can go out, identify, Madison resources like gas, electric lines. What are these major driving factors? So that's really the main overarching theme under number 3. You can get as specific as you want through a timeline of November 2024 out there, because really it would give you a time to gather that information and develop. Certainly, I don't know beyond technology corridor if the board has really said anything other that you would like to target, per se. So that was just going back to the original idea. If we bring you back a list of resources, I guess we can talk about that at a staffing level. What does that mean? But some of that stuff just takes some time.
Yeah, I mean, when Brian brought it up the other day, it's like, well, we need to know where our gas lines are. We need to know where if we can find it, if we can get it, right?
Yeah, that was when we talked, and I mentioned about the hydroponic farm. Well, you need natural gas because it's cheaper. LNG is kind of volatile, and propane is expensive. So it's just going after those, or knowing what those resources are, where are they located, and pairing that up with the industry or the development that the Board of Supervisors would like to see, and where we get a little more, where we're actually courting those type of businesses.
All right.
Chairman, what
Please.
I'm just gonna suggest that based upon the work we're doing, I'll get a report together on the technology corridor before 3/14.
Very good.
And that way we'll know how to do it, whether it's feasible here,
Sure.
and then we can match that up with some of the resource assessments.
Excellent. No, that I think that's a fine plan. The only reason I bring up the resources is I see economic development is and I think focusing on the technology corridor that's just one item that could potentially be just great for Madison in lots of ways, and your evaluation, and then whatever work proceeds from there, we can try to figure out. I was thinking economic development as far as, we have lots of properties that are available at this point. I would put those on as resources. We know about several groups that we can tap into and we can try to identify. We've seen half of them here already today, and I guess we'll see some more next week. I was thinking just starting to go down that list and see if we can start compiling and then work off of that and go backwards to try to accomplish the task of implementation, potential implementation, or something to that effect when it pertains to the technology side. But let's get your report on the 14th and we can kind of go from there.
Okay.
Does the goal and priorities list look okay until we get to the March list? Or March date, excuse me?
I think so. We're in the early stages.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Judd? Yeah, there you go. All right. That get us back to where we need to go? There we are. All right. Mrs. Hood, is she here yet? Yes. Excellent. 16th District Court Service Unit. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Very well.
Good. All right. So this year we did not make any amendments, any changes to what we requested last year. So the total funding requested through the court service unit that we're looking for from assistance with you guys is $21,939. Would you like a breakdown?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we do have existing counseling and residential services. It's $6,060. That's a fund that we like to tap into if we need some immediate counseling service needs, perhaps to a family that doesn't have anything readily available. So it's nice to go ahead and have that if there's something, really important that we need to get taken care of before we can actually try to get Medicaid and things on board. And then for postal service, it's $300 is what we're requesting. Obviously communications, sending stamps, or sending letters with stamps. A lot of correspondence with community partners are used with our letters. No changes as well in that. For telecommunications, we do have to pay for our telephone services, scanning and fax, so that's just $1,700. And that also helps with our cell phones that we use for on-call and after-call intake services. And then we have a crime prevention grant. That's the VJCCCA program. And you guys do a little bit of a cash match with us, and that's $8,079. And this allows for a lot of pre-court services. So this allows for electronic monitoring, GPS. It's a lot of prevention, education pieces that we can utilize through the service. We can do anger management and other specialized program services and substance abuse as well. And then we've requested $850 to assist with some office supplies. We do get some funds, of course, from the state, but we're fairly limited. And that would tie in with office equipment. We're requesting $2,200 for that. And that is essentially for our copy machine service agreement that we have. We have a mileage line item for $1,750. Currently, we continue to have struggles with the state fleet management system, and they continue to pull cars out of our availability within the entire CSU. So it'd be for all of Charlottesville and the surrounding localities. So oftentimes we have to use our own vehicles and request reimbursement for that. Then we have the $500 to sometimes assist with seminars and tuitions if needed, if it's something that's not paid for through the Department of Juvenile Justice, where someone might want to go and get an additional training credit item that isn't paid for by DJJ. And then finally, $500 towards lodging and meals. That coincides with the seminars and tuition. So that way, if they are having to travel, we have some funds for them as well.
Give us a narrative on what y'all do, or something that.
Yeah.
You have anything to add?
Yeah. So the CSU.
All right, please, go ahead.
Okay. The CSU is the Department of Juvenile Justice, right? We're the court service unit piece of DJJ. So we provide assistance to the courts, to JDR court, provide supervision and referral source management for youth within your community. Does that give you a summary?
Sort of.
Okay.
A lot of acronyms in there, abbreviations. All right, anybody have questions, comments on this? Please.
I was just going to ask, because we hear a lot of districts, planning District 9, this district, that. So the 16th, is that both Madison and Culpeper? What is the 16th district?
Yes.
Because I think in is some of your services, shared service amongst that district.
Yes, so the
Cost.
16th court service unit is Charlottesville. And it's going to be Charlottesville, Greene, Madison, Culpeper, Orange, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Louisa, and Goochland. And so we have a court service unit in each locality, each county or city, the city of Charlottesville. You're welcome.
All right, anyone?
So where does a court service unit, who initiated it or created it or what?
The Department of Juvenile Justice,
Okay.
so the state of Virginia.
So most of your funding comes from the state of Virginia then?
That's correct.
And what is your total budget? Is that?
21,939.
No,
Oh.
total across your whole organization.
I would not be able to tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it comes through the whole CSU originally down to Charlottesville, and then it would break out like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at the budget right there. What is your fiscal year?
July.
July. Okay,
July
so
1 through-
FY '23, juvenile probation, you spent $112.26, but you're asking for $6,000. That's
No, I think.
not explainable or not understandable to me. Let me put it that way.
So
You
I
see?
believe that's through, you're looking at a specific line item. So that juvenile probation,
Uh-huh.
that is the counseling services that we were saying that we like to have available for emergency use for someone who may need it and they haven't had the time or don't have the ability to apply for Medicaid. Maybe they don't qualify. They're initially getting into the system. And as you are probably aware, there's some lag time getting those services.
Okay, so if you don't use that money, then where does it go?
It stays with you.
Stays with us?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They work on a reimbursement basis?
Yes.
So in 2023, you had $6,000 in your pool, and then.
I got it.
Okay,
I'm sorry, ask the question again?
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm still with you, I'm not quite
Yeah.
understanding why 123, or 112, I'm sorry, 23, and then you're asking for 6,060 now, right?
So the 6,060 is the line item specifically for the counseling services. We were only in a situation in which we needed to use $112.26 of that. We also did not have a probation officer start in the Madison office full-time until December 25th of 2022. So we didn't have anyone who really, we were kind of addressing things as they came from an emergency perspective from other officers filling in. And so there's been a lot of education since that person's come on board to know what services are available, where money is located to use if we need to. And once again, I mean, you never know what situation these families are in when you're trying to provide assistance. You know, it could have been that,
I just want to
right,
clarify real quick, so that 2023 was $112 that you actually used,
correct.
right? So did we have a budgeted number in 2023 for that?
Yes,
Of 6,000?
correct. And you got that money returned, the difference.
That's what I want.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, really.
so we can look back over the last number of years and see what their expense to us was. Is that correct? Okay, I'd like to know that.
We can pull the actuals by year.
Yeah.
As long as back as far as we want.
Yeah.
I think we should pull this for data going back. Also, this one does look like, fortunately, hopefully for the positive side, that we budget fairly cautiously, but you all have a good rate of return coming back to the county.
Absolutely.
On the reimbursement side. We should go back a handful of And is this you probably mentioned it, this is a formula that applies to the locality or all of your member localities? Is that right or wrong?
Define what you mean by formula.
Like Jim LaGraff or with the.
Like a per capita.
Or it's like a per capita number or value per citizen. Is that the way this works to come up with these numbers?
So I was not within DJJ when this line item was created, so I could not attest to how it was created and, you know, the mechanisms behind it, certainly. Each locality has their own local funds, and some local funds do allow for a counseling kind of pot of money that we can utilize if we need to.
And I would just say, I mean, we hope none of these services are needed, but this is the intermediary between probation, which I think of John Frey years ago, and Rappahannock Rapidan Juvenile Detention Center, which we're a member of in Stafford.
Absolutely. And I actually, from what I've been told, and the former director of our CSU, I believe, said that Frey was the one who actually created having this line item for us.
Well, he was an excellent human being.
Yeah.
Every way. All right.
So I would, just keep in mind and in thought, I would just, you know, take it with, I guess, a little bit of caution and just understanding that this CSU, especially in Madison, has really been understaffed until a year ago. So a lot of services really haven't been utilized to the full extent in which they can. And you will see, hopefully, if you were to go back and look, you'll see how that trend has kind of occurred. So.
All right. Well, any other questions, comments? Where are you staffed in Madison?
We're in the courthouse in the basement.
All right.
Over near Miss Gallahew's.
Yes,
down
we're right
the
next
road.
door.
Excellent.
Yep.
Now we know. All right, any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. All right, Northern Virginia 4-H Education Conference Center. Ms. Tennant?
This is the one we'll have to reschedule,
Oh, excuse
Mr.
me.
Chairman. So
Excuse me.
it will now,
Boys and Girls Club. Yeah, good. You're up, come on up, Graham.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Good, you?
Doing well.
We see you brought your friends.
Yeah, I brought
It's
my
always
fire
good.
support team here.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah. So, yeah, my name is Graham Davidson. For those of you I haven't met, I think I've met most all of you at some point in time. I have with me Sarah Fisher, Kitty Cashman, Nan Coppage, and Jerry Picara, which is our fire support team here. And then we also have a representative from Central Virginia, Laura, who's been a big help for us. And, you know, our ask this year was $10,000. Our operating budget for the year is around $435,000, and the vast majority of that money comes from donation and grants and other special events that we put on throughout the year. And I just wanted to kind of lay that out front, and I'll talk specifically about the $10,000 that we're asking for and how that's going to support the program. I wanted to start out by just acknowledging that the public school system provides a lot of support to us. You know, they provide the facilities for the Boys and Girls Club, the maintenance there, lunch, and other ways. So we get quite a bit of support from the public school system, which I think is great. And ultimately, that's money that you guys approve. And I just want to, you know, from the onset, just thank you all for that. It's very helpful. You know, we spend exactly the amount of money that we make each year. So it's a very tight budget. And in fact, we could use more, you know, based on our needs. So there are 6 other clubs in our region, in the Central Virginia region. We're the 3rd largest. We have roughly 200 members, and those are members basically K through 12. And you know, we don't support the early or the Child Development Center down the street, they do pre-K, but of course, we're not a child care center. As you guys know, the public schools are closed today, so is the Boys and Girls Club. If we were a child care center, we would be open today. It's not what it is. We provide before and after school support for our children, but in the after-school support programs, we are focused on child development. And that goes from STEM efforts to reading efforts to health. We look at all domains. We look at the physical aspect, the intellectual, academic aspects, the character aspect of these students. And let me tell you, we're just, the impact that's happening at the Boys and Girls Club is serious. I mean, it's really positive. I see it myself. I have 3 kids that are in it. I've had 4 kids who have been members. I'm just recently, this past year, started the tackle football team for Madison County. We have basically a middle school team. It's not codified as a middle school public school football team, but we fall under the Jefferson Football District League. And we have roughly 30 football players and quite a bit more than that who are coming in this next year. But the majority of my football players are Boys and Girls Club members. So I get to hear not only from my children, but also from those football players on the impact that those that are involved, the impact it's having on their personal lives and the way they see themselves, and also the way the Boys and Girls Club provides support for them as individuals and for their families, who many of them either have single parents who are serving the community at some capacity, at some job, or they have both parents are working and really benefit from that service. But I just want to make a point right up front that the Boys and Girls Club goes well beyond any type of child care service, even though, from the face it might seem that way. I want to answer a few questions. The fees that we charge students is not uncommon to fees that are charged across all Boys and Girls Clubs in the nation. It ranges from $50 to $125, depending on your circumstance. But the cost for us for each child is a little over $2,200. And the staff to student ratio is we have 1 staff member for every 17 members, which ideally we would have 1 for every 14 members. And I think that that's kind of the gold standard for support in these types of programs. But the money that we're getting, we're really at the mercy of just a few folks that are here in the county that are very generous in supporting the Boys and Girls Club. So I talked about my perspective as a parent and my perspective as a local football coach, but I'm also a member of the board. And I get to see the work that the board members are doing, but I also get to see those who are involved in supporting the Boys and Girls Club in the community. And I just think, you don't have to go far. You can go to, we have a Dancing with Stars every year. At least we did it this past year. And the people that are there supporting the program, it's really inspiring to see the community, the taxpayers that are in the county that are supporting Madison's Boys and Girls Club. Over 90% of the money that we get comes, or that goes into the program from Madison goes directly. So about 10% of what we get comes from the Central Virginia area. A little bit less than that, actually. So the vast majority of the money that's spent, and all of the money that's spent, if money is allocated from the county with taxpayer dollars, goes directly to the Boys and Girls Club. So I think that that's another point that is worth making. The $10,000 is going to support about 1 month of part-time employment for those who are supporting the program every day. So that's money that's needed. I think that regardless who you talk to that's involved in the donations, or whether you're on the board, or that are just currently working for the Boys and Girls Clubs, knows that money would be well spent, and that's where it can mostly. In the past we've asked for $10,000 for several years. We've asked for $10,000. I think we landed with $2,000. This past year we tried to be sober about it, and we asked for $2,000, and we ended up with $0. We'd like to get back to something closer to what we've had in the past. And I just don't want to understate what it means to get support from the county and from our board here. So I'd like to take any of your questions, if you have any questions specifically about the 10,000 or about what we do. And if I can't answer it, I've got a very good knowledge base over here that can help me out.
All right, who has questions? Yeah, I got comments too. Anybody have questions?
Let's see, so Graham, how do you guys, do you have to meet a ratio of kids to?
To sustain it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
mean,
I
like,
don't.
But
from
you're
what
not
I
under
understand,
Virginia licensing? You're not under any kind of Virginia child care licensing?
We are not currently subject to Virginia child care licensing, and the state decided they were not going to impose that requirement on us this year. We have a safety assessment that we undergo as a part of our BGCA national association that we have to comply with in order to maintain membership. So they are just acknowledging the space that they have because it is a unique space. They are recommending us have a ratio of 1 to 15, so our budget reflects a ratio of 1 to 15, which means we would need to hire more part-time staff.
Okay, so is that going to become a requirement next year, you think?
The state licensure?
Yeah.
At this moment, I wouldn't say so, but.
Because, I mean, I know if y'all are serving, I didn't realize you were serving K through 12. Obviously, there's different ratios of staff to kids in kindergarten than there is in the third grade and the 8th grade and all that stuff. And what about this 200 is, I would think, is the occupancy max in that building? Because
we're very close to it.
Because certainly there's also space requirement for that.
We have a need for additional space.
Yeah.
To be, frank.
Okay, and I've got in front of me the operating budget. Do we have a balance sheet or, 990 did they send a 990? But the balance sheet's 990 is not in the package here, right?
There is one in the board folders.
Oh, okay, go to the board folders, all right. So what I would like to see for the board, and I appreciate, Graham, you bringing it up, is that the county does donate, their donation of that building is a significant donation to the Boys and Girls Club. I would like to see, you could have under revenues and then an offset under expenses, in-kind revenue. And I would say that, well, let's just say we've got a lease in Madison we're getting charged $16 a square foot for, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a reasonable amount to use for square footage for the in-kind donation. Then you would have that offset at the bottom as an expense.
Sure.
So that wouldn't change the bottom line any, but I think it's important for the rest of the board and for the general public to know what their investment is already.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it doesn't change the request.
Sure, no, understood.
Y'all are serving right now about 130 kids?
That's on a day-to-day basis.
Day-to-day.
Yeah, correct.
And you're $25 to $50 for the whole school year per student?
Yeah,
Or
it is.
pupil?
It is a very nominal number.
Crazy.
For membership fees.
Yeah, crazy. What's the variation between 25 and 50 for the?
Like
I
what's
mean,
the, what
yeah,
differentiates?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna be the best person. I'd
All
rather
right.
somebody that can answer that question better.
So teen membership is only $25.
All right.
And we classify teens as 12 and above.
Okay.
So any middle school and above, it's $25 for the full year, after school and summer.
Mhm.
And then the higher fee is for our younger kids, but it's waived if the parents aren't able to afford it.
Okay. All right.
you said that was national average kind of thing? That's,
I think,
So our clubs, we base all of our fees by club based on a lot of different factors, including the rate of free and reduced lunch in the area. Some school systems that we serve, the entire school is eligible for free and reduced lunch, so that sometimes changes the calculation. As a club, our fees are never more than $150 for a full-year membership.
so I think, for like rural communities like this, it's, on par.
It's comparable. That's an incredible deal. Incredible. All right. Jim, you have comments up there?
Yes, I had an opportunity to visit your facility here recently, as did Mr. Buchanan, and I think we came away with similar impressions. But Mr. Hill, who is now your director, Anthony Hill, a local Madison person, I got the opportunity to talk to him at length about issues surrounding young people and education. And what impressed me about him is that his philosophy in dealing with staff and students is for folks to learn to take responsibility for what they do and to learn coping skills. And that, I was extremely impressed. I work in education. If that philosophy permeated education and permeated some other institutions in this country, half of our social problems would disappear. So I wish we could have a lot more Anthony Hills to put around different places. But as I said, I was really impressed with him.
I appreciate that, Mr. Jewett.
No, I think everybody up here hears positive things about what y'all are doing. The monetary side from the county, I think we're yet to discuss.
Yes, sir.
But everybody realizes the value y'all bring to everybody here. Other questions, comments for boys and girls? Anybody? Thank you very much, Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank y'all.
All right.
All right, Mad Cats. Mr. Mitch. I saw him. All right. Let everybody cycle through.
He was here.
Yeah. Is he outside? Ah, there you go. We realize what kind of meeting this is. Welcome, Miss Counts. Howdy. Mad Cats. Tell us things.
Okay.
Good.
Howdy. Thank
Howdy,
you.
Clay. Sorry about that.
Oh,
One and a-
here, I'm afraid you, give you one back. Here. Here you go, Miss Counts. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome. Tell us about your request.
Yes, sir. So Madison Community Cats is here, and we are asking for $10,000 in order to spay and neuter 100 Madison County cats. We are planning this year to provide services for about 450 cats in the county, which will cost us about $45,000, and we're asking that the county pay $10,000 of that. So just so that we're totally clear, that $10,000 is exactly what we pay to the clinic. It doesn't cover any of the other expenses that are involved with the cats in any other way. So with that, so I'm not sure how much you all know about our organization, but we got started in 2018, just 5 people here in Madison. There was no cat rescue of any kind in Madison County, So that's what we decided to do. And of course, we love being called Mad Cats. That's just kind of a fun name. And we do also work in Culpeper County. That's actually where I live. But about, it's really, the work that we do is divided about 50% between each county. So we're asking them for money for their cats, and we're also asking you for money for the cats that we're going to do here. So if you look at the what I passed out there in 2018, of course, we didn't get started till October. We did just a few cats. We had 5 traps, and Gary and I were the 2 people that were out there actually doing the work. So 2019, we did a few more. We did a little more than 100, then 200, 300, 400. And, you know, at the peak in 2020, you know, we did about 600. We're doing now about 450. So when I say that we're spaying and neutering these cats, part of what we do, our main program is called TNR, or Trap, Neuter, Return. If you're not familiar with what that is, that means that somebody has called us because they have a colony of cats that they've been feeding, a group of cats. And those cats can be a combination of strays and lost and the offspring of those cats. So what happens is people will have a couple cats, and within 2 or 3 years they might have 20 or 30 cats. It happens really quickly because a cat in this area, a female cat, can have as many as 3 litters in 1 year. It's just so warm here. Cats go into heat around as soon as the winter solstice starts. And so even now that we're doing some trapping, we are finding cats that are already pregnant, several in heat, several pregnant, and that will just, those numbers will continue to grow as we get closer and closer to spring. So what we're trying to do, there are many different kinds of animal rescues. Some rescues will take animals, a lot of rescues, cat and dog rescues, will take animals from, say, the most southern parts, southwestern parts of Virginia, where their shelters are so overcrowded, they bring them up here, they try to find them homes. That is not what we do. We feel that the most important thing that we can do with our resources is to stop the problem where it starts, and that's that we have too many. There are too many cats, there are too many dogs. We can't do everything, so we settled on cats. So we are trying as hard as we can to prevent the birth of as many cats, litters of kittens, as we possibly can. And my fan club is like right there in that row, just in case you didn't realize that. So, so that's what we do. So, but that program is really divided into 2 parts. So the trap, neuter, return, that means we're doing colony cats. We also have what we call domestic spay neuter. And domestic means that it's a cat that somebody owns. It can be, and it can be anybody, anyone in the county that calls us and has a cat, and the cat needs to be spayed or neutered. We will do that for them. And I don't think I said this, but I should have started with it, is that we do all this at no cost to the residents of Madison County and Culpeper County also. And we're able to do that because we work really, really hard every single day of the year on fundraising, grants, and getting money wherever we can. A lot of people make donations. A lot of people have nothing to donate. So, so we are always, of course, like any other nonprofit, we're always trying to find new sources of funding. So in our program, which I started to say, so spay neuter of domestic cats is really important. If you think, well, people own these cats, they ought to be able to pay to have them spayed and neutered. Well, that sounds really good probably, and maybe that makes sense somewhere, but that's just not the truth. That's just not how it is. People get a kitten, or someone gives them a kitten, or they find a kitten, and they say, oh, that's so cute, and they bring it in, and they have really, they're very well-meaning, and they have all the plans to get them spayed and neutered until they find out how much that costs. And they find out where they might have to go to have it done. So here in Madison County, we basically have one vet. So that means that if that cost was too much for somebody, then they would have to go out of county to find a place to have it done. And I'm not sure what Dr. Pfaff charges, but it's usually several $100s, and it could go up into And most of the people that are here that we are working with, they don't have 700, they don't have 300, many of them don't have 100. They just don't have it. And along with not having the money to have it done, many times they don't have transportation. They just have a host of issues that are going to prevent them from getting that animal spayed and neutered. So even though it's what we call an owned animal, a domestic animal, they reproduce just as quickly as the ones that are living out in colonies. And if you have if you adopted a male and a female and you have them together, there's nothing keeping those kittens from mating. And they do go into heat as early as 5 months. A lot of people don't realize that. So we have a program that we call Fix by 5, which is something that we try to tell people that you need to get your kittens spayed and neutered by 5 months. So that program has actually grown a lot in popularity, and we do at least 20 of those cats a month. Kelly, sitting right here, she's the person who organizes all that for us. She makes all the phone calls. If we have to, we loan people carriers. If they don't have transportation, we go pick the cats up. We try to remove all the barriers that we can, cost, of course, being the biggest one, and for that person not to have that cat spayed or neutered. My mouth's getting so dry. I'm not used to talking this much. Okay, so what effect has that had on the county? So when we look at the number of cats we've spayed and neutered, and you can see in the top chart of the one I just handed out to you, yeah, that one. I just made, on the handout, they actually match color. But you can see as the more and more cats that we have spayed and neutered, the fewer, the less money the board has had to spend on the county shelter. So while in 2018, the budget for the shelter was over $200,000, in 2023, it was just around $150,000. So I think that we are probably one, if not the only, maybe one of just a few nonprofits that actually has an effect on the county budget. I mean, a lot of your nonprofits are doing service-added things. They're adding literacy, they're adding food, they're adding this or that. But we are actually having a big impact on the county's budget for the shelter. And we've seen that go down quite a bit. Not only have we seen the amount spent on the shelter, so the amount spent on the shelter is directly related to the number of cats in the shelter. So the first year that we were working, there were more than 450 cats in the shelter for that year. Last year, there were only 127 cats in the county shelter for the whole year, And we think that the work that we have done has a direct impact on that. We personally had 256 cats and kittens that we took care of. So we're taking care of twice as many as the shelter is taking care of. So when we ask you for $10,000, that $10,000 is not going to any of the costs that we bear, any of the expenses that our nonprofit bears. It is only going toward spaying and neutering those cats. That money will just be paid to the clinic. So I'm going to take a breath. Do you have any questions so far?
Anyone? Anyone have questions?
Come on, you have to ask me a question.
What are you
so I'll feel
What are you
good.
using the facility on Schoolhouse Road for?
What are we using it for? Not much. Mostly clutter right now. Sorry.
We got a lot of food in there right now. We were able to get some food about a week ago. We've got shelves full of food that we will give to people if they come in and need it for cats. Shelters, we have shelters there, and we've had quite a few people request shelters that Gary makes that come in, and those are free of charge. We give them as many as they need, and they are so thankful for it. And if they have the ability, they give us a check for maybe $25, which is wonderful. We also have our meetings there when we meet. Basically, right now, if I get a message from Lori that somebody needs something and it's out there, I'm out there with them waiting. I had someone bring food out there this morning and let me know, and so I went and put it in the office. So it's picking up, we haven't had it that long, but it's for the community. It's basically, like I said, we have food, we have dry food, we have wet food. We just have whatever you might need. We had litter for a little while that we just give to people. Nobody is expected to pay anything for their cats.
So I see in your presentation, you got total clinic costs for 2024 for Madison County, 45,000. So that's all your overhead, that's all costs rolled into the 45,000.
No.
No?
That is the actual clinic cost. It costs $100 on average per cat to be
Okay.
done. So if we do 450 cats, that's $45,000.
So then what's your total budget as an organization?
Our total budget as an organization is over 100,000.
Over 100? And that includes Culpeper?
Yeah. That includes our other programs. We have food distribution programs. We have the kitten rescue program. We spend thousands of dollars, I think $12,000 a year on vet costs. That's not clinic costs, that's vet costs. All of our volunteers, we do have a van, but all of our volunteers frequently drive their own vehicles, and they pay for their own gas. We don't pay for their gas. They pay for their own gas. They drive. I mean, this is Amy here. If you haven't met Amy, Amy is our main trapper here in Madison County, and she drives hundreds and hundreds of miles every week, picking up cats, dropping cats off. Yes.
We also share with Mesa. When we get a huge donation of food in, we share it with Mesa. And that is something Mesa is really short on because so many people have cats. And so they're always so grateful when we're able to share. And I think they put it on their Facebook page just this week how much that we were able to share with them.
I mean, looking at their 990, I mean, their total revenue was 82,504, where their expenses for 2022 was 57,218. So you do start seeing a depiction, but that goes through both sides. That's your Culpeper and your Madison operations, even with these additional programs, correct? Minus the expenses for driving and fuel and all that, and hourly.
None of that is in
Yeah,
there.
that's
And we
right.
didn't have our office. I mean, we have our office now, but we didn't have that as well.
Okay.
We spent, well, our van died last year. We spent $19,000 on the van. And we have had, some of the things that are not reflected in there is that we did have some assistance from a foundation. They paid some of our clinic costs. So when you look at our 990, what we paid, that was not all the costs incurred. That was what we were able to pay. But we don't have that foundation money anymore. So
Okay.
that's why we're saying, you know, at this point, we need some help.
All right.
How many colonies do you guess it's in Madison? Like, I know you're traveling all the roads, like, how many colonies do we have?
It's funny you ask that. In about 10 minutes, I whipped up a list, a two-sided list of just places I've been trapping in the past 2 years. I will say we probably have colonies, 75, probably 75. I list one there that I started with when I first started here in like 2021. 50 cats, 50 plus, senior citizen, just started feeding, had no idea, has 20 acres, had no idea how many she was feeding. You know, that clearly cost us about $6,000 to take care of all those cats. And I have no reports of kittens in 2 years from that colony. Let's see. I have some impacts on there of some of the neighbors, like a lot of colonies that call us. It's senior citizens who, their neighbor got a cat 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden, they're feeding 15, 20 cats. And it's not their responsibility, but you can't make your neighbor take care of their animals. And it's really hard to tell that 75-year-old lady not to use her Social Security check to feed these animals. So if we can prevent these births, which just, again, this was like off the top of my head in 10 minutes of what I was remembering where I've been the last 2 years. And driving around today delivering food in passive places where I've traveled. But there are impacts for the clients that we work with. You know, I even note in there's some clients that will not allow us to trap, and, when I knock on neighbors' doors saying, hey, are you taking care of any cats, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I found 3 kittens last year, so I took them to the shelter. Or, oh, this spring I found 3 kittens, I took them to the shelter. So, you know, when we can get into somebody's community or get into their communities and get this done, the reduction in kittens is unbelievable. I mean, we're killing it right now. We're at 190 cats today.
No pun intended.
Yeah, 190 cats today.
Since January 1st.
Since January 1st, and
Yeah.
so, well, December 31st, because we were trapping on New Year's Eve.
Mhm.
And so if we prevented 95 females from producing kittens, I look at it as we are saving $400 per female by not having to do her 4 kittens in April or May. It's just, it will continue to grow and continue to grow. You know, I worked for Fairfax County Juvenile Court for 30 years. My favorite and longest job was the Yard Diversion Program. It's all about prevention. You gotta prevent. You gotta cut it right there and not let any more continue. And I think that we're at a point now where we're starting to collaborate with other agencies. We're collaborating more with the shelter. We have a collaboration with Standardville in 2 weeks where they are paying $5,000 for us to do the town of Standardville at a 5-mile radius, with Madison Green holding a clinic at Madison Green Humane Society. We've had some kitten transfers to Madison Green when we've caught some Madison kittens and Greene County kittens. So we are really starting to collaborate with some of the other agencies and partnering with people. And you know, it just basically, sorry, this is going back to my court days. This is evidence-based practices. TNR is the only thing that works to stop this from continuing. It's an evidence-based practice. I think the evidence shows by the reduction of $100,000 costs of your shelter that what we've started to do has not only saved money, but it's gonna continue to save money down the road. And just one little itty-bitty piece, and probably because I'm an environmentalist, but also when I think about, if I've got 20 cats in my house for 2 nights, I'm going through a case and a half of cat food. That's a lot of waste that is going into your landfill and it's going into your recycling center. And I know the county has to pay some of those costs. So there is gonna be a significant cost savings, I think, also to your waste management system by reducing these birds and reducing like feeding costs on the road for the citizens, but it will reduce the cost of your waste management as well. Any questions?
All right. Other questions, comments? All right.
I guess, so, give me an elevator speech for a cat hater.
For what?
I mean, not everybody, you know.
Okay, I got this, I got this. Oh, not
You know what I'm
everybody's a
saying?
fan of
I mean,
cats?
when I go up and say, okay, so the county, all these other residents out here, all the other citizens are gonna chip in on this too. They think that a burlap sack and a brick is the best way to go. So give me,
but you know
no,
what?
oh, I know. So give me the elevators tip.
Okay, well, hopefully that, the county of Madison and its citizens have moved on a long way from that. Because that is not how we treat companion animals, whether you personally like cats or not. And even if you especially don't like cats, we're making sure that there's fewer of them. So how can you argue with that? There's less cat here.
There you go.
Okay?
That's a good one. You're a cat hater, they're making sure there aren't any more cats.
Good job, Cardi. That's outstanding. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. What is that? Oh, yeah. The only one that I do, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, we just had Boys and Girls Club come in here, and they're doing, 130 kids a day, and they're asking us for $10K. You start running it against, and it's costing, I mean, it's a balancing act on this stuff, and I mean, that really is what everybody, I think, up here is sitting here thinking, is that we've got them. I mean, right after this, we're going to Madison Learning Center. They've been sending us emails for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks now, and every person is super passionate about that. They're asking us for $50K. I mean, this is one of those trying to figure out what fits the revenue that we receive. And I think everybody appreciates your passion for doing this mission. I think we've all seen Mr. Mitch for years. I'd assume the Volvo still is not running. It's had its heyday. But I mean, we're talking major money that's needed for staff and essential services, and that's a big concern. And now we're kind of reaching outside the box a little bit. Talking about the cost and effect on the landfill, I have a hard time going down that path. But going to the animal shelter, it's no. I mean, hey, you might as well. I mean, you got to sell your case. Reach under every stone, I guess. To the animal shelter, I do think there's probably some savings there. I mean, 190 cats is a lot of cats, and that seems like a lot of cats to me. And I know about where there's other ones that are out there, and they are reproducing, unfortunately. We appreciate it. What other questions do we have?
In Culpeper, do you call it cull cats?
No.
No?
We just don't
Okay.
call it mad cats.
Oh, all right.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you did real well there. Good. All right. Anybody else have anything? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right. All right, Madison Learning Center. Miss Lacy here? Ah, good.
A little wary of what card he's gonna ask me, but
Yeah,
I am here.
I would be.
All right, before we start, I have a confession. I made an executive decision. There's a delightful little one sitting right here who made, I think, maybe 7 peeps. And Mom was going to take him out. I'm assuming that's Mom. And I said, please do not take him out. That's why I'm here. So thank you for this time to come before the board again, to ask this board, please approve funding for the Madison Learning Center to their budget for this year. A little background, 10 years ago, about this time, I was part of a group that made the decision to work together to open a licensed child care center in the building that's at 634 South Main Street, which was then owned by Culpeper Memorial Hospital. Many volunteer hours later, the center opened in August of 2014 under the umbrella of the nonprofit status of Mesa. We were not able to get our own nonprofit fast enough to open for the fall school year, so we first opened underneath Mesa. At that time, we were licensed by the Department of Social Services, and now we are licensed by the Department of Education. In December of 2019, Madison Learning Center Incorporated opened as a new child care center under its own nonprofit status. For clarification, I am the board chair of this nonprofit, and as such, I nor anyone else on our board has any financial interest or benefit from Madison Learning Center Incorporated. Madison Learning Center is a very vital, important part of this community, and I, for one, want to make sure that it will be here for years to come. MLC is a standalone nonprofit, which means it does not operate as a part of any other corporation or any other business. The center relies on community support for both financial and other donations, such as supplies and in-kind services, along with tuition to provide early childhood education and quality care and nurturing for our children from 6 weeks to 12 years of age. About 30% of our families qualify for some level of subsidy for tuition, and this comes through our Department of Social Services. We have many donors that have contributed to our budget, and many of our donors ask that their donations will be used for tuition assistance to families that need the extra financial assistance. I'm reminded as I see someone else, she's behaving really well, no peeps out of her, from Education Foundation has donated money to us to use for education, ongoing education for our staff. The investment of the future of this county begins with the investment of our children, their education and their care. Madison Learning Center provides that education and care as a licensed child care center. We are the only fully licensed child care center in the county. There are a couple other centers that fall under a religious exemption, but we are the only one that is a fully licensed child care center. We're inspected at least once a year, sometimes more. I still get fear in my heart when I see a state car pull up in front of someplace, because I know that's an inspector. Our families need the support for their children that allows them to remain employed and to pay taxes. Our community needs this component and that the services that are offered to our families. Madison is not alone in this situation of needing assistance to keep its child cares going. Governor Youngkin has included ways to support child care in his budget, and there are even some efforts being made on a national level to help in this child care crisis. However, my focus has always been on this community and its children and its families. We have the services in place. We have the staff. We have the building, which was given to us by the Wellness Foundation when we became our own nonprofit. We have the people who work above and beyond to keep Madison Learning Center going. When we hired our most recent executive director, who's sitting in the audience today, I don't think any of us realized that we also hired one of the finest handymans and his son in the county. So we have those people who are willing to help and keep Madison Learning Center going. There seems to be some concern that I am one who holds all this together. And obviously, I'm 10 years older than I was 10 years ago. And 10 years from now, I'll be even 10 years older. So what happens if I'm no longer involved? Well, I've thought that through, and it hasn't happened yet. But yes, I've put a lot of time in at the center, yet the support for MLC does not rely on me alone. As I look around tonight, I see families, I see Education Foundation, I see churches, I see businesses, I see people I've talked to over the years in various organizations, Lions clubs, men's groups, and I think they believe in what we're doing. So please don't put a whole lot of stake in the rumor that if I'm no longer involved, the whole thing's going to fall apart, because trust me, it will not. The need for Madison Learning Center is here. It exists. We need childcare. We need childcare for more reasons than you have an interest in learning tonight, and I have the time and energy to share with you. But childcare is an important part of our society. So the need is there. The support for the Madison Learning Center is here. Again, I can see them here tonight. I know of the many letters that have been written to you. I know of the churches that have supported us. I know of the people that have knocked on our front door and dropped off donation. Every toy that comes in is one we don't have to spend money on. What Madison Learning Center would like, and what I am up here representing as an advocate for the families and children of our county, what we would like as representatives of the county, which is you all, please include Madison Learning Center in your distributions of funds this year. Thank you.
All right. Want me to start?
I was a little afraid to, but go.
No, first of all, I was involved. I am on the board of the Madison Learning Center. They told me if I would help get the 501c3 going and up and running, then I could get off, but that hadn't happened. But
You had your chance and you didn't raise your hand.
that's right. So I know that what my constituents are going to want to know is So, and you just said, we would like for you to consider this amount of money this year. Is this year going to also turn into next year? Can you use this $50,000 to put you in a position of sustainability? I mean, I see you've got in there staff salary, which if I understand it, your capacity up there is what, 80 kids?
We can take about 90 to 95 children.
90 to 95. And you have now,
60?
60.
We're at
okay?
about 60 right now.
So there's room for 30. How many are on the waiting list?
Do you want me to?
25.
And some of that depends on the room they need to get in, because our rooms, we do have a ratio we have to follow.
Right,
So
that's what I'm getting
it's
to.
not that we have 25 spaces and 25 waiting. It can vary.
Yeah, that too. But if you had, you have to keep some kids on the waiting list because you don't have the ratio. You can't hire the staff
Right.
to get the
Right.
ratio, right?
Right.
So would this $31,200 right there, is that going towards new staff or current staff?
I think the hope is that it would help us hire new staff, and that's not an easy thing to say, we're just going to go tomorrow and hire new staff, because
Right.
it's not real easy. That is the hope for that.
And what are the qualifications besides being upright and breathing are you looking for in your staff?
I got to take a breath, Cardi. According to licensing,
Right.
they need
according
to be at
licensing.
least 18 years old, have finished high school, preferably have a minimum of 6 months' experience. Would love to have them have a 2-year degree. If they can walk in with a 4-year degree, we tend to train them and turn them over to the public schools. But, or the public school takes them from us, depending on your attitude tonight. But you need to come in with some experience. This is not daycare, and it ain't babysitting. This is education that starts from the day they bring them to us. So there is some requirements for it. It does not, at this point, it does not require a 4-year degree. The Virginia Department of Education is looking to change licensing over the next several years, so that hopefully
sooner.
child care employees will be brought up salary-wise with what your Head Start employees make and what possibly school teachers make.
Yeah, I mean, for you guys and for the public, I mean, I know most of the answers to these questions, but I think the public needs to hear it, and you guys don't need to hear it since you're not. I mean, I'm involved, with some of these issues through Skyline Cap, because we have the Head Start program and all that stuff. So that's the reason I'm trying to get the facts out for not only us on the board to have to make this decision, but for the folks in the county that would need to agree with us.
And all of that is public information on the Virginia Department of Education website, lists all the licensing requirements.
Let's see.
Is the goal to get up to the carrying capacity of the building?
That would be the goal. The more, I mean, just like any other business, the more tacos we sell, the better we're going to do. We have to have more employees to bring in more. It does wax and wane. It is not a steady, just as much as I think the school does, to say you know, what's your enrollment today, 2 weeks from now, it might be different. But yes, if we could bring in some more, especially if we can bring in more and not have to greatly change our ratio.
More of the older students.
I
'Cause
don't know that that's a fact answer. It depends on the classroom and what we can find. We are having a very difficult time finding infant and toddler teachers. That's a very long day.
Which has the highest ratio, or the low, or highest or low. no,
Right,
It's like a 1 to 4, isn't it?
It's currently 1 to 4. We try real hard to keep it 1 to 3. Whoever thought one person could handle 4 6-week-old babies, never done it.
Correct.
If you want to come help try.
No,
you're
I've never done it.
As long as you want to volunteer and you're in the presence of one of our trained staff
Excellent.
members, we could have you.
Good.
Just wash your hands first.
I mean, is this something, is this gonna be if we give you 50 this year, I mean, are you gonna be able to hit a carrying capacity where you have a break even on this? Or is this something that's just gonna be a continuation over time?
My dad used to have a saying about ifs and ands, so I don't know how to answer that. Yes, I would hope that would be, but I cannot give you a promise that this would. Will I be back? I've been back lots of times. The older I get, the kind of more dug in my heels I'm getting. So yes, we will be back. I feel like we are a vital part of this community, and we will be back. Will we always need $50,000? I don't know.
Are you all exploring grant opportunities at this
Yes,
point?
yes,
ma'am.
yes. I would be glad to brag that Madison Learning Center received a grant from the Bama Foundation. Yes, we go after grants.
Okay. All right.
I got one. So is there a limit on the number of scholarships you can get from Department of Social Services? I mean, if you went to Valerie with, we got 10 more, I mean, are they limited?
I think that depends on their funding.
Yeah.
Does anybody know?
Got any idea? Anybody got any idea? Yeah.
Now, my understanding is most of that is income-based, so that you
Oh,
get
sure.
the subsidy based on your family's income. But I don't think there is a cap. I know.
No, I'm talking about the cap is, do they only have funding for, well, you got 13 kids in there now, I guess is what it was.
Well, back in my other
whatever,
life, when I was
13.
director for this, and there would be times the Department of
35%.
Social Services, the way they did it then, would have a cap on how much funding Madison was given. I'm not real sure how it works now.
We gotta ask Valerie that, I guess.
That's amazing.
The last meeting we had, which was sometime this last year, they said we had plenty of funding.
What is the level? 130% of poverty and below?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it is about that. But I'd
That's-
have to jump.
Okay. Let's see.
Every letter that's been written to us, and I've gotten, I don't know, 10, 12, 20 of them, talks about the demand. Why is there not more kids on the waiting list? I'm just asking, because everybody talks to me about the demand. And when I talk to people about giving away $50,000 of taxpayer dollars, they're gonna ask me, and I'm gonna be, well, 25 kids on the waiting list, there's 100 kids there. You've got a 13,000, 200 and something population. I mean, I would
Right.
think the waiting list would be triple or 100 people. or
My
something.
resource here tells me there's about 90 children per grade level. And we basically we base our classrooms on when the children go to kindergarten. So we have maybe 3, 4 levels of children depending on their age. Yes, where are all those? They're in private home care. They're with stay-at-home families. They're going to, I believe there's 2 licensed homes in the county. There's a lot of homes in the county that take children that are not licensed. And again, there's a lot of people who choose to not put their children in childcare. We have a rather large Mennonite population in our community. Those children might be counted in the 90 for each grade level, but they're not on a list that would be going to childcare. And I can guarantee you that if in 2 weeks we hired staff and had
Fill up.
2 classes open, their door would be knocked down. There's a time you stay on a waiting list and the time you don't. I don't know that that's always indicative of the need.
All right. Other questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Ms. Lacy a couple questions, and I also have a few comments. I also serve on the board of Skyline Cap, so I'm somewhat familiar with some of the backstory on the Early Learning Center and Head Start, and also what's going over in the school system. And, I mean, first of all, I mean, there's obviously a sustainability issue with what you're trying to do there, and I'm not arguing whether it's a good service. It's a good service. I'm trying to look at it more in an analytical standpoint. But where are you with regard to any type of working collaboration with the other agencies, the school, Head Start? I mean, where can they fit in? Will they not fit in?
All of the above. We have worked with them. We are a bus stop. There are programs in the past that have worked. Again, back when I was a director, the special needs children were in my building for 2 years. There is a program on the table for VPI 3-year-olds, which can be placed in a fully licensed child care center. We're in the process of looking into that. The catch-22 comes is, will we lose money on it, which will damage our budget? Will the school lose money, which will damage their budget? They can't be bused. How do they do this? We would love to take the children after Head Start. However, there's no transportation from the school to our center. So we're trying. It's very much been on the table 10 years ago when it was brought to the county that this building would be accessible. It was one of my questions 10 years ago. Why do we in a county this size put some of this together? And that's one of those things I'm still working on.
Okay. And just one more comment, and I think this goes back to, alludes to something that Supervisor Jackson stated. And again, this is not an argument for or against this program, but I think a fundamental question is going to come down for us as supervisors. Are Madison County local taxpayers going to be subsidizing child care in the county? Unfortunately, that's a question that I think we're going to have to reconcile.
I understand that. I'm sorry. I understand that.
And again, I'm just being analytical.
I understand where you're coming from, but there's a lot that is subsidized that does not affect every single person in this county. And I guess it's a matter of choice. Mine is that the most important years of any human being's life is the first 5 years, so that's why I push for this.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I go with the one, and I think you haven't told us the honest to God truth. I know you've got a big group of supporters, but I would guess that you could ask, I don't know, 90% of the people that know about the Learning Center in Madison County, and they would say that you are the reason that the Learning Center's sticking. I know, and you can argue it all you want, and I'm going to still believe the exact same thing because you have come in front of us countless times passionately about this one topic. And I appreciate the people you've got on your board. I'm looking through all your documents, but you are the reason that this thing is going.
Well, I don't think so.
I know.
I will really disagree with you. I am one of the hats I wear. I'm sometimes the mediator up there. I'm the one, what, Ms. Francis, what do we do about this? You know, and I'm the grandmother up there. I'm old enough now to gladly claim that. Heck, I can be old enough to be the great-grandmother up there. I am just one in the cog of supporting this. I've got church people here who support us. I've had people bring us toilet paper because it saves us from buying. This is supported by the community. It's not just me. Yeah, maybe I'm the loudest. Maybe I'm the most, I didn't ask you. Maybe I'm the most persistent. And that is because one is I'm not gainfully employed 6 days, 5 days a week. I gave up farming quite a few years ago. Yes, maybe I am the face, but I am not the only reason this holds together. So I will respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Jackson.
That's fine. Thank you, Miss Lacy.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thanks for being nice, Clark.
Just ask my mama, I'm a nice guy.
All right, Foothills Child Advocacy, Ms. Phillips. Oh, sure.
How did we get so far behind in time? Oh.
Welcome.
Thank you. Emily Taylor could not be here, so I am here. I'm
All
the
right.
interim executive director of Foothills right now. Some of you may remember me because I was executive director of Foothills from 2013 through spring of 2020, and then I retired, and they asked me to come back and help out, so I am. And I want to thank you for your support for the children and the families who need our services. Thank you very much. So, do I just say advance?
Sure.
Okay. So as you may know, that we receive referrals from the Madison County Sheriff's Office or the Madison County Child Protective Services. And when they decide to investigate a report of child maltreatment, they schedule a forensic interview or a forensic medical exam for the family with us. Okay. And there, as you may know, that there are several types of child maltreatment or child abuse that is against the law in the state of Virginia. We primarily deal with sexual abuse, alleged severe physical abuse. Although oftentimes, most of the children have more than one type of abuse that come to us. And these are the services that we offer. We have a very child-friendly, safe place for the child and family to come. We want to create an environment for them that is less traumatizing and as safe as possible so they feel comfortable coming to see us and they aren't further traumatized by what has happened to them. We provide legally sound child forensic interviews, and child forensic interviewers is a very unique, specialized field. They require specialized training and continuous peer review, and there's a lot of research across the country about best practices. We provide forensic medical exams. We're very fortunate in this area that University of Virginia has a child abuse certified, board certified pediatrician. We're in the state of Virginia, there's not very many of those, and so that person serves the surrounding 9 or so localities around Charlottesville. We also provide family support services. We don't just have the child and their family may only come to Foothill once for the interview or an exam, but we continue to stay in touch with them to get them mental health counseling, whatever they might need, help them find housing, and that sort of thing. And then we also meet with the multidisciplinary teams, they're called, and they're all of the partners that work to help children. We meet with them for each locality either once a month or every other month, and that is so that we are all giving the same message to the child and family. So before child advocacy centers, a child and their family would have to go to several places to get help. Be interviewed by law enforcement, be interviewed by Child Protective Services, be interviewed by this counselor, that person. And it was very traumatizing because the child would have to say over and over again what had happened to them. And now at Foothills, we record the forensic interview with parental permission. And now the child only has to be interviewed once. It's observed by both the detective and the Child Protective Services. And then the family comes, we have a one-stop place for them to get help. And so here's the pictures of the Madison County room and then our room at our Foothills facility. And after the child is interviewed, they meet back with the caregivers to see what resources they might need. This is our medical doctor. She is a child abuse pediatrician. There's not very many of those across the United States, so we're fortunate, like I have already said. And we have our own medical exam room in Foothills, so in our facility, so the child doesn't have to go to UVA, which if you've been to the UVA Medical Center, it can be quite intimidating. You have to park in this parking garage or find parking in the street, and you have to walk a long, long ways to get there, and there's all kinds of people around. And especially if it's a teenager that needs to go to the emergency department, it's just a lot friendlier and safer and private because we usually only have one family at a time for them to come for their medical exam at Foothills.
And where is that? Where is that facility?
We're in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay.
And these are our partners, the Sheriff's Office, the Victim Witness, Commonwealth Attorney, and others, mental health counselors that work with us. And here are the numbers for children we have served from Madison and their caregivers. And so we've been serving children in Madison County since fiscal year of 2012. And we've been, continued to serve for all these years. And right now, the numbers are a little different than the annual report. The person who prepared the report for you had 9, it's actually 11 children that we served in fiscal year 23. And we're already projecting for 24 that we'll serve 13 children and 10 caregivers. And these are unique children, counted just once. So unfortunately, I don't know if you've heard in the news about the Victims of Crime Act money. They're cutting it way, way back. And so we have relied a lot on that money in our budget. And that means that in the fiscal year 25, we're going to have a $230,000 cut from our budget unless Congress decides to go ahead and fund that program again. So we are working really hard to make up for that difference. That is actually a third of our budget right now. And this is just an example of some of the things we're doing. We're going to have a pickleball tournament, the first certified pickleball tournament in the Charlottesville area, and other things like that. We are applying, of course, for grants from foundations, and we're just working really hard right now to replace that funding just in case that happens. And so it costs an average of $3,085 per child to receive services at Foothills. So that means in fiscal year 23, we provided a value of $33,000 to serve 11 Madison County children and families. We just count the children in that 3,000. We don't count the parents in there. So we are respectfully requesting $3,085, equivalent to 1 child from Madison County, to help us fill the gap from reduced FOCA funding.
How are your requests going in other localities? I mean, I'm looking at your budget and how you're adjusting from that huge minus 176,000 from the state.
So we did increase the amounts to the other localities. We're hoping to get significantly more from Albemarle and Charlottesville.
That's what it looks like.
Right,
Yeah.
well, and we do serve more children there, of course. But we have, of course, we're right now in the middle of the funding application award, so we don't know what we're going to get. But we have asked every county for funding, and we've increased every county except for Greene County. And I'm working on that, in the process of working on that.
All right. Who else has questions? Anybody?
Pretty clear to me.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
We really appreciate it.
All right, Hospice of Piedmont, Sarah Grace Parr, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is actually Ophelia Lenz. Sarah Grace isn't here tonight.
Well,
but
welcome, apologize.
No, it's okay. I'm a development officer with Hospice of Piedmont. Thanks for pulling that up. Yeah. You guys can advance to the next slide. Okay. So just wanted to go over a little bit of what we do. We are a nonprofit hospice organization, and we serve 12 counties in Central Virginia. So you might know that like Medicare, Medicaid, and most private insurances will cover hospice as a benefit to people. But being a nonprofit hospice, we incorporate a lot more services to patients and families, including our grief and healing services as well. So during the fiscal year 2023, we were honored to directly support 59 residents in Madison County, offering over 3,176 days of dedicated care. So that means the number of days those people were in our service. And then we additionally serve patient families through grief counseling, that's for adults, our kids' grief camps, and other bereavement services. So we do have, in the larger 12-county area we mentioned, we served over 1,700 patients last year, providing over 106,000 days of care. You can advance to the next slide. Another aspect of what we do is our palliative medicine. So this is a specialized type of care that is for people who are, that have a diagnosis of an advanced illness. So this focuses on improving comfort and quality of life for the patient while they're dealing with their illness. The difference here between the hospice care that we offer is at this time, a patient can continue to pursue a curative treatment. So when you're on hospice care, you generally have 6 months or less to live. Can move on to the next slide here. Education, we think, is an important part of our mission right now. We're providing educational talks, presentations to the community, working with people to help set up advanced directives, and generally trying to educate the community about the hospice benefit. A recent study came out, or report came out, that said only 50% of residents in Virginia access the hospice services that they are eligible for. So for us, it's really important to get out in the community, make people aware of the service, and bring them onto service sooner than when they're, what we often sometimes see people just when they're actively dying, as opposed to bringing them onto service sooner, because studies show that people who come onto hospice service sooner actually tend to live longer, because they're getting provided that comfort and that care. The family's being educated on how to help take care of them and basically help them experience a dignified death. Let's see here. You guys can move. Oh, this was just a picture of Hannah, who is our community navigator. So she's always looking for opportunities with our facilities, senior centers, and other places to come out and host events in the community to help educate people about the services as well. And we are one of the only hospice organizations in Virginia certified to provide continuing education credits to faculty and hospital staff as well. Next slide. So our grief and healing programs for adults, with the hospice benefit, sometimes for a for-profit hospice, that could just be receiving a brochure after your loved one dies. With Hospice of the Piedmont as a nonprofit, we provide very robust grief and healing services for community members. So it could be, we have Zoom groups, we have in-person groups, we have individual counseling sessions that we offer. This past week, I met a mother who's part of our Remembering Children group. She's been part of that group since she lost her son in 2016. And so she still attends meetings, and she has been mentoring other parents who will come to those meetings through that time. So we create a very nice community space for people to help heal. Next slide. Our kids' grief and healing services. So hospice has no, like a traditional hospice has no calling to do anything with children, but we feel like it's an important part of what we do. There's actually the Children's Grief and Healing Alliance, the national group, says that by the age of 18, 1 in 12 children will have experienced the death of a parent or sibling. So this is a mental health issue in the community as well. And we know that if we can work with children, providing, tools for them to make sense of, the loss of a loved one, they will often have a better behavioral health outcome. So we do that through, we have art therapy, our bereavement counselors, we host day camps, we do them around the region and try to do one every season of the year, one-on-one sessions, group sessions. And we also will engage with the school systems when they need. Like if there's some tragedy happens in a school, our counselors will go there, we'll form a small group with those people. So we will work with kids who have no connection at all, or anyone with our grief and healing services. They don't need to have had a loved one on our Hospice of the Piedmont care to receive our services. Next slide. So volunteers play a huge role in what we do. They're essential to making things work. They work closely with our nurses, our social workers, our chaplains, to make sure that patients are getting the care that they deserve. We have just some examples of some of the things we have a We Honor Veterans program. So we'll pair veterans with a companion veteran so that they have someone with them. We'll do pinning ceremonies. We have a death doula program. I think most people are familiar with birth doulas, but death doulas are, we're actually one of only 15 programs in the country doing this. we have trained over 30 death doulas. So that would be like, if someone has just gotten a, an advanced diagnosis and they're struggling with how to deal with this, how to talk with their family about it, and how to think about the remaining time that they have, that's a service that we provide, that they can have that person with them to talk through that. We'll bring pets to the bedside, music, art. 11th hour vigil is for folks who may be alone, just so that no one has to die alone. Respite care for caregivers, because we know the strain that this can take on caregivers, and just generalized companionship. I was actually right before here, we had one of our all-staff meetings up at the American Legion Hall on Thrift Road, and I heard a story, and I was like, I have to share this. So one of the other things that that the philanthropy covers is something called our Serenity Fund, and so that can cover like burial services, cremation services for families who are experiencing economic hardship, and that is stressful for them. And one of our social workers spoke about someone recently. She went to the home and she had been told that this lady was not eating, and it was not because of her illness. She did not have any food. And she, of course, we will put people in touch with other services in the community that they can use, applications for food assistance and things like that. But we used our Serenity Fund in this instance to buy groceries, to pay her electric bill was about to be shut off, and she didn't even have gas money to go to the food bank to pick up the food. So just doing those things just to help people, it's enough to be dealing with your end of your life without having that added stress. So that's why we call it the Serenity Fund. Yeah, next slide. We also have 2 inpatient care facilities. We have the Hospice House, which is on Park Street in Charlottesville. So this is a home away from home for patients who, they may not have a loved one in the area who can take care of them, and they don't need a hospital situation, but they don't have the support that they need locally to care for them. And so I would say 50% of the patients who are there are charity care. So they are there. They don't have the ability to pay the room and board for the house, but we cover that. And then we have our acute care center in Ivy, which provides short-term care when a patient may be having issues that need to be managed in a hospital-like environment. Sometimes people are admitted there, and then they're able to go back home after things get under control. And we are so grateful for your consideration and support of this grant. One thing that we talk a lot about at Hospice of the Piedmont is the DASH. I don't know who's familiar with the DASH poem, but we are meeting people at the end of their DASH, at the end of their life, with the desire just to provide them with care, comfort, respect, and dignity. So, any questions?
All right, anybody have questions? Anybody? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Helen, come on up and tell us about the Central Virginia Partnership for Economic Development.
Well, first of all, last but not least, but there are days where you need to be last, and today was one of those, so I really appreciate it. I was like, boy, I couldn't have gotten here much earlier. So thank you all. Sometimes I'm saying, why wasn't I earlier? But today, thank you so much for letting me be last and hopefully not least. Central Virginia Partnership was it's a public-private, not-for-profit formed in 1995, really by the private sector who wanted to work with local governments and higher education on regional economic prosperity. We believe local economic success depends on regional economic success, and so really join public and private sectors to pursue common goals. We're very glad to have Madison County as a member of the partnership. Jonathan Weekly serves on our board. He's an excellent board member, has a lot of good ideas, and never hesitates to ask a difficult question if he feels like it's appropriate. He's not shy. And then, of course, we work with Tracy Gardner as one of our good, solid local economic development partners. She's terrific to work with. Just so you all know, Tracy, for the most part, is 100%, I think she's 100% now, Madison County funded. At the state level, Virginia Economic Development Partnership is 100% funded by the General Assembly. And at our level, the regional group, we're public-privately funded. So we have 65, 70 companies that fund us. Each locality is asked to give 50 cents per capita or a minimum of $10,000. So you all are at $10,000. And then we have support from Germanna and Piedmont Virginia Community College, as well as University of Virginia. We're doing a fundraising campaign now to increase our private sector funding only. We're not asking the local governments for any more money. I'm sure you're glad to hear that. Just to give you a couple of things, we greatly appreciate your participation. How we help you is we have information on our two websites, centralvirginia.org and livingcentralva.org. So one is really for site selectors and companies looking for locations, growing existing companies. The other one is really for talent, showing the area is a great place to live, work, and play. All of our leads that come from us come directly to us from site selectors or companies, and those that come from Virginia Economic Development Partnership. We're very transparent. We share 100% of those with Tracy and our other local economic developers. Not all regions operate that way. We feel like that's the best way to do business, unless you have a client or someone, even an existing company, that wants to keep that confidential, and then we will do so. We subscribe to databases that are pretty expensive that then Candace Spence on my team can pull the information for Tracy and others, so you don't have to subscribe to them. We do that, and also can do that back office support work, especially when you just have one person doing the work. We also want to ensure that Madison County benefits from Go Virginia. We are the support organization for that group, and most recently, the Cluster Scale Up Wine Industry Planning Grant got $100,000. It's led by Francoise, whose last name I will not say correctly. I know people that can say it, though, from Revelation Vineyards, and that has just kicked off, so we're excited about that. I'm glad to answer any questions and really appreciate your time tonight.
Who has questions for Helen?
And I did not do a PowerPoint because I know
No, we
Clay does
appreciate
not
it.
like
We've seen
them.
to the name.
That's for you, Clay.
Jonathan, you go to all these meetings. Tell us things.
So Madison has funded this for a few years now, and there's some parity too. There's a lot of things going on in the state. You have counties represented, as Helen has put in this layout, and then it kind of plays well with the Go Virginia economic development, which I think we're Region 9,
yes,
I believe as well. So when you hear Helen talk about target industries, obviously we know we're agricultural, we're tourism as well. So it's really targeting those. I think at our last, I don't know if it's the CPED or Go Virginia, they run together. I'm sorry, they're both wonderful. But they had the food and wine industry there. Dave Fulton, who's the owner of Balltop Brewery, and I believe they have a wedding venue. That might be in another locality. But he was there on behalf of Madison County. There were other.
That was our meeting. We'll take credit for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's great.
And there were other folks in that industry. So it's really putting Madison out there, but how can you grow? So there are other counties that are similar to that. I think Nelson County and Madison County had those kind of same target industries. So I know we're going to go back to some of our strategic planning and see if there are other things, which once those are identified, we can get Helen that information. So those type of things like technology corridor and so forth can be, really sought after and information shared. Biotech is something that's really happening around the Charlottesville, Albemarle, close to Greene County line atmosphere. So not sure if that's something Madison wants to look at as well, but really it's about making available what is here. I don't think they lower the acreage on the tier 4 and 5 sites, so I think that's still at 100 acres. We'd like to see something that might lower to 50 acres or so for pad-ready sites. So it makes you a little more competitive. There's not many 100-acre sites in Madison that would really fit the bill for development. But I know Helen and Tracy, they work very closely. The APHID grants that both Revelation and Hidden Pines was the other recipient. They have worked hand in hand to make those possible. So I think it's a good investment. I know when you look around, you see a lot of things happen along 29 and mainly Charlottesville and so forth. But our target industry right now is that agricultural type of area, unless there are other things that we would make Helen and Go Virginia partners aware of, so then we can add that to our targeted industries.
Anybody have any questions for Helen? Thank you very much, Helen.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate it.
Miss Lacy, just since you're sitting here, what did we do with the ARPA for y'all? It was like a washing machine? What was it? Was it what?
18 desks and chairs for school-age children so they could do virtual learning.
All right.
And a washer and a dryer.
All right. What I was thinking. All right. All right. All right, anybody have questions on any of these items? Back to, are we ready? Back to public comment. Public comment. Yes, ma'am. Please.
Thank you again for tolerating my little one. It's getting late in the day. My name's Emily Dornbush. I'm a parent of a child at Madison Learning Center, as you probably gathered. I just wanted to echo the staff and the board's request and also offer a parent's perspective as to why we're so supportive of MLC. Yes, hi, baby. I work full-time, and it's not uncommon for my husband to work between 60 and 70 hours a week since our daycare bill increased by almost 20% last November. If we continue on this current trajectory, no amount of overtime or extra jobs is going to be enough to offset the astronomical cost of childcare to the parents this community is facing. Mr. Jewett, you made a comment about sustainability, and if we ask, if you guys give them the $50,000 this year, they're going to come back and ask for more next year. I think it's important to remember when we ask ourselves that question and when the community asks that question, that according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the cost of childcare is rising faster than any other expense has been doing, and that's been since early 2023. The cost is rising faster than anything else. It's the parents are footing the lion's share of that burden, and when MLC and the parents ask for help, it's not because we want a handout. It's not because we want to not pay for this. There are children, there are responsibility. We acknowledge that, but we need help. It's getting to the point where we can't afford childcare anymore. In the last 18 months alone, our daycare bill has gone up by nearly 30%. And as you may have noticed, we're thrilled to be expecting our second child just in time for Mother's Day this year. And while it could be the back pain keeping me up at night, I won't pretend that worrying how on earth we're going to afford 2 children in childcare isn't also offering to the lack of sleep that I've been getting lately. You see, once this little one joins their brother at MLC, our daycare bill will officially exceed our mortgage. That bears repeating because people are often shocked when I say that to them. Our daycare bill with 2 children enrolled will exceed our mortgage. I want to make it clear we do not blame MLC for these price hikes. The federal budget cuts back in December added momentum to an already building child care crisis, and MLC knew they had 2 options. They were either going to have to redistribute that burden to the parents or shut down. So while the price increase hit us hard, at least I was able to keep my job, and our son was able to stay enrolled at what I can only describe as one of the most exceptional early child care education centers in our community. This is the reality of working class families across the country. Our family's been very fortunate, but like I said at the beginning, we can't continue. The cost is rising faster than anybody can keep up with it, and it means people leaving the workforce. It means children going to subpar child care centers that may be unlicensed and unregulated and unsafe. And it means that we would lose a really incredible group of people taking care of our children. My husband and I are known for being very picky, in particular about who we leave our son with. He's our pride and joy. And it's a high compliment that we leave him with the staff at MLC, and we do that without any hesitation every day. Thank you so much for your time and for putting up with the chatter.
Not at all. Thank you. Other public comment?
That one's going to be a hard one to follow, but I'm also here in support of the Learning Center. And I'm going to try not to regurgitate the same information that I think everybody has been acutely aware of, the costs of childcare across not just Virginia, but the country. My name is Brittany Frick. I am a long-term resident of Madison County. I have graduated from the Madison County Public Schools. I am a small business owner in the county, and I'm a parent. I just had my third, and all three, oh, she's still there, all three have gone through the Learning Center and absolutely love it.
Weren't you over at the old elementary school?
Oh, yeah, when I was,
Okay, so
that was the old admin building?
I was director when she was over here.
The Learning Center is much better than the old admin building. So I'll skip my points about the cost. My main issue is with the Learning Center potentially going away. What is my option? And I don't want to go to Green. I don't want to go to Orange. I don't want to go to Culpeper. Selfishly, that's time away from my children because I'm commuting there and back to get them. And working 9 to 5, I don't have that much time with them. I get 45 minutes in the morning, and if I'm lucky, 2 hours in the afternoon, and I am 5 minutes from the Learning Center. So to have to commute to find childcare is just unacceptable. And the trickle-down effect of that is 2 of my kids are enrolled in sports at Hoover Ridge. We won't be able to attend sports anymore because we can't get to practice or games in time. So I love this county. I love the Learning Center. And I mean, obviously Miss Fay is fantastic, but every single person that works at that center loves it, has a heart, and loves those children. My kids run into the daycare center every day. They love it. And I can't say that about many other child care centers. So those were my main points. Thank you. Please do not let them go away. Please help them. We need them. They're important, they're essential, and they're reliable and safe, which were my 2 main. I had to have a reliable and safe, licensed, dedicated team to watch my children, and they love them. They're essential. We need to help them now more than ever because they need it. Thank you.
Other public comment?
Lisa Davis, Locust Dale. I haven't been to one of these in, I'm ashamed to say, in many years. And I made a commitment to myself that I'd start getting more involved and be a good county resident. So a lot of this, as I'm listening, is just what I saw tonight. Now, as a taxpayer, I don't want to see my taxes on my property go up every couple of years by multiple cents to pay for a lot of this. Not until all these agencies go back, and when I say cut, I mean do a hard cut, line by line, have them look at things, and especially personnel positions. All I can say is when I was in the military, I was a staffer, so that's like an admin, a staffer position. And when the Air Force came down, because they had to cut, they cut 10 to 20% across the board for personnel positions. Oh, we couldn't live like that. That's what we were all saying to ourselves. And what happened? Of course, we pressed on and we lived. It's just, you know, it's a big ouch. Maybe we need a big ouch, a really realistic ouch from the agencies before we keep coming back to you all as well, because you have to make the hard decisions. And all these people that stood up here have very, very good reasons. But I'm just saying, when you, just everybody I think needs to have a hard look, just within themselves first, because it comes down to you all. And are we, you know, giving you the whole picture? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kim Smith from Brightwood. I wasn't going to speak, but one thing that I noticed in this meeting was it would have been delightful if those of us in the audience could have asked questions. Instead of posing those questions to you all, Jim downloaded the entire board packet, so I think I've got the address of these organizations. But some of the funding questions need to be addressed. Some of the communication that's available to interested citizens need to be addressed, like reports, like minutes, like the RRC legislative list. We need to know what the priorities are, because as I've mentioned to a number of you privately, we really need to talk to Richmond, and we really need to talk to Washington, because a lot of the problems are ours because they're cascading down from an imposition from the feds or the state. I also want to know if you have programs, do the participants pay always on a sliding scale? Is it income-based? Whether you're an offender, whether you're a child, parent, whatever. Those are a few things that I would really like to see. I obviously chased the poor woman from the economic development group out because I wanted her card. That is probably my number one goal in life. And it's not just tech, it's also services for people who need those services and don't wish to travel to Culpeper or Greene or mostly Charlottesville. And I would love something like a LabCorp in Madison, because they are about $1,300 cheaper for a blood panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Any other public comment? All right. Anybody else have anything? What would y'all like to do? Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you all.
Huh?
This conference is no longer being recorded.